Rise and shine, y'all. It is time for some Calling All Heroes Rising. Tonight we've got Greater Than Colon 3 going up against the one and only Peach Posse. I am Gedster, and joining me tonight is Thoria Maya. How you doing?
Hi there. So, I am doing pretty well. It is, let's say, yeah, minus some technical difficulties on my end.
Uh-oh.
Doing pretty decently well. And honestly, I'm looking forward to this match between Greater Than Colon 3 and Peach Posse because these are the fourth and fifth seeds in this Rising playoffs bracket.
Okay. So, right in the middle of that bracket seeding path, right? Obviously, as you say, 4 and 5, so should be a little bit of a banger here, theoretically. It is going to be a best of 5, first to 3. The winner of this will move on to face the winner of Sakura Mochi and Monarch Mix in the semifinals. And down in losers, I believe they will face the loser of that match. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure how this bracket works, if I'm being entirely honest with you. But either way, round 1, always one of the more pivotal rounds in any given playoff bracket, because if you lose round 1, you have to run the gauntlet if you want to take the crown. You have to play so many more extra matches involved, and it just gets extremely difficult. And I believe we have the maps ready as well, so let's see where the battlegrounds will be today. Well,
And
just
looks
the
like
first one is going to be Lijiang.
Yep, a tried and tested control map. I think a lot of teams pretty much have had experience on this map, pretty much the go-to map since the Overwatch the OG Overwatch days. But because of the whole 5v5, definitely it has been reimagined, and you know, the strategies tend to be a mixed bag now in this specific map. Maps like Gardens still leaning in towards maybe something divier just because of how pesky that bridge is to any Lucio boop or even just to any character that can do boops. Other parts of the map though open to, you know, a variety of compositions. Brawl being the go-to. We'll see some teams maybe play a wrecking ball in that control center. Feasible, a bit more challenging, but hey, something they can definitely do. But we will go to the hero bands from here on out, and I think it is the higher seed who gets priority. But already they've selected, and for Greater Than Colon 3, they're going for a Tracer Peach Posse for an Orisa.
Yeah, kind of shows what they want to be going for a little bit here. I think that Peach Posse getting rid of the Orisa makes a lot of sense if you really, really want to be staying away from those kind of brawlier compositions, because obviously in our most recent update we have seen nerfs to characters like Ramatra, like a couple other pivotal tanks in those compositions, just to allow a little bit more breathing room for other comps. But Orisa, kind of stays as that consistent monolith of Brawl in this one. And Tracer out of here is, she's always a good character, very good universal ban. We do have the rosters also available to us very shortly here. Greater Than Colon 3 is going to consist of Saccharine, Toxtricity, Hyuka, Hollow, and Vengeful. A lot of very stacked talent on this team.
Yep, stacked talent, but also familiar names in the rising scene. Hollow, Can't Aim being a mainstay player previously I think it is for Monarch MX. So interesting to see them now in whole new team and actually doing pretty well if we're just going to look at the standings of Greater Than Colon 3. Everyone else though also pulling up their weight. So I've seen Saccharine pop off really well on this Ashe, on this hit scan heroes. Same for Toxtricity on Flex DPS. So this is a competitive team. Now on the flip side, you also have Peach Posse, who is just right below them standing wise, and just as competitive. We've seen them on stream already previously. You have Winter and Shubu running that DPS line, Adrian on the tank, Void Bloom and Spacebar to round off that backline. And if there's one thing we definitely know is players like Winter and Shubu can pop off, but it's Adrian who does completely well on a character, on a variety of characters. They have a solid depth in their tank hero pool.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a very interesting series going forward. And I mean, obviously, some of the most common characters in the game banned out here for this first map. So, not going to be seeing Orisa, not going to be seeing any Tracer. Just completely out of the equation as it stands here. Oh,
Yeah,
we're already seeing greater than :3s in the chat. This is intimidation. This is an intimidation tactic.
This is setting the message and making sure that Peach Posse are aware of it. And already you know why Peach Posse decided to ban that Orisa. They want to play that Junker Queen, something that's Adrian is very comfortable in. So what a great way to play it, but in a map like Lijiang Tower, control maps are really a mainstay for this character. And the moment you remove an Orisa, there's less, very tanky, armor heavy point pressure. So already you'll see greater than :3 teasing this a Juno and Wuyang setup. So interesting to see how this is going to all work together, as the speed situation is going to vary.
Yeah, for sure. Meanwhile, on the other side, Peach Posse, they're rolling out with another one of those characters who can't control the speed in the Lucio, but they've also got the Kiri on board. Unfortunately, neither of those heroes are able to keep Adrian standing for very long in the face of a charged up Zarya. That's going to be a very definitive first fight win for the side of greater than :3. And I mean, Peach Posse responds by an instant swap off of the Queen onto this Ramattra.
I think the Ramattra gameplay we're seeing is really from the nerf to that, block can't, I think it can't punch block. So you are forced to be a bit more strategic in it. But in this long distance neutral strike, they are definitely much more effective, especially to Zarya and the pokier damage of, a Cassidy.
For sure. Oh, Quizzical goes down very quickly there, but I mean, once again, Peach Posse losing out first on their tank. They kind of have to get forced back here. The Wuyang might not have a ton of healing, but it is plenty to keep them sustained, at least until Quizzical gets back.
I think the high charge Zarya makes things a bit significantly more painful, and the amount of damage Toxtricity is doing. So Spacebar really isn't able to keep them alive for as long, and already they're dropped. See, at that point, I think is a go next for Peach Posse. Just hard regroup, don't stagger any further, and allow time to re-engage maybe with that Kiriko rush, which Spacebar already has.
Yeah, Spacebar has gotten up to that one, and Winter's very close to an overclock. But other than that, you haven't gotten too close, and I mean, you're losing numbers still. Void Bloom goes down, and Winter barely escapes with the help of the barrier from Adrian. But I mean, :3, greater than :3 rather. They've got 3 ultimates, almost 4 to work with here. The only one they're short of is Orbital Strike.
Yep. High Noon, ready, and I think that's what they're waiting for it to drop before Peach Posse commits probably both ultimates they have online, because they need this to re-engage and take the point back in their favor.
Good grab. That catches literally everybody. The Tectonic Shock is gonna roll through and deal so much damage. 3 players fall to it. That is a clean sweep. Peach Posse off the field in the blink of an eye, and that's only 3 of the 4 ultimates they had.
Yep, greater than this Venture just waving away the point from Peach Posse. It looks like Adrian is going to try to touch with the Wrecking Ball, manages to do so, but there really isn't much to work with.
Yeah, they lose out on the Lucio. Sound Barrier was intact, and Spacebar also out of the picture. It's just a couple DPS and the tank. If the overclock goes crazy, there's a chance for sure. Especially with one player going down. Saccharine out of the picture, but Shubu's not there either. Adrian falls as well. They do flip the point, and Quizzical hits another nice railgun shot onto the Juno, but eventually this should just be over. The Zarya is back on the point at full charge, and I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do right now if you're Peach Posse. The side of Toxtricity is just going to be pumping out so much damage, but Winter hitting another very nice railgun shot. Beautiful stuff coming out from them so far, but eventually goes down. And now the fight just looks to be getting out of control. Hyuka finally finding purchase with this charge. spacebar down as well, and that should just be the point flip eventually.
Yeah, just unfortunate for Peach Posse. Just a few staggers left to keep things alive, but this is looking like a done deal for them, and that is all that has been wrote. They're still trying no matter what, but I think at this point there really isn't anything to turn things. I say this team won't give up. This team. Are we done? Yes, we are.
We're done. We're done for real this time.
We're done for real this time. But I think what's actually crazy from all of that is that should not have given Peach Posse any percentage.
Nope.
When you take a look at it, they managed to flip the point with just Winter on the Sojourn and Void Bloom on the Lucio, and ticked up the percentage to 43%. If this is the grit that Peach Posse is walking into these matches with, then I think they can turn things around against Greater Than Colin 3. I think it's finding a composition, and I think the way they want to change how they're playing, because this Zarya has significantly higher charge. So you need to force out these bubbles way earlier, and by then this Zarya is not going to stay alive and is going to crack, because I don't think the Juno is going to be doing as much of a healing if there's other distractions on her, and the Zarya is and Zarya pops bubbles.
An apt summary of the situation Peach Posse faces here, but end of the day, they choose to walk out with Adrian once again playing this Junker Queen that we saw at the beginning of the first point. And I mean, Greater Than Colon 3, they find very early control over the point. There will be no contest. It will just be a first capture for the side of them. But Saccharine goes down. Excellent headshot kunai from Spacebar. And they've got to find a way to get back onto this point very quickly. They're fighting their way in. Void Bloom falls, but they do find a way to get a couple more picks. Winter on this Reaper is able to hit the necessary shots, and players will fall like dominoes as Peach Posse finally take like a definitive fight win and a flip of the point.
And I like this. I like the mindset they are walking into this fight with. I think they really should ignore that Zarya for a bit, go for the squishier players, and then force Zarya to have to use that bubble on them. So by the time the Zarya has a bubble for themselves, they don't have it, and Shuba just takes out Electricity already.
Yeah, I mean, early, gorgeous pick coming out onto the counterpart Venture player. Toxtricity has been playing very good on this hero so far, but Shubu letting them know what's up, letting them know what's up in this instance. Out goes the Kitsune Rush, very aggressive from Spacebar, literally walking into the spawn of Greater Than Colon 3 and allowing Winter to find another 2 final blows there. It was almost 3, but that first pick going a different way.
An economical fight for Peach Posse. That was only one ultimate that she'd used. Greater Than Colin 3 making some swaps. No more Venture trying to wall off this Junker Queen may be the answer they are searching for, given that your Zarya is going to be building towards the Gravity Surge.
Wall's already out, and it's not going to find any immediate value, but Shubu! 2 kills with that. So much damage also pumped out by Winter's Death Blossom. And that's another definitive team kill for Peach Posse.
See, this is a great set of compositional swaps for Peach Posse, and they are definitely forcing out these bubbles much earlier. Void Bloom has to stay alive to deal with this incoming Graviton Surge, which, you know, Hugo's finding a source for.
Grav is out. Winter doesn't get the sound barrier before dying in that instance, though. Grav is going to be able to lock down just that 1 kill, and that could be enough, but I mean, you still got to be able to win the fight pretty definitively here. Peach Posse should at least get this to 99%. Shubu choosing to use the Tectonic Shock in this fight despite everyone on the team falling somewhat low. A whole lot of damage goes out onto Saccharine and Quizzical, but eventually the fight should go the way of Greater Than Colon 3, but looks like we might be experiencing some slight technical difficulties, y'all. You hate to see it.
I hate to see it, but I think if you are Greater Than Colin 3, you do like seeing these picks turn in your way. And, you know, capitalizing on that fact and turning things around, because the moment they take this point back in their hands, they should be able to stabilize just a bit. They will have that Blizzard and the Wu Yang ultimate, so I would not be surprised if they're going to try to enter into this, putting this Wuyang ultimate onto the Mei and maybe popping off a bubble.
Saccharine out of the, well, gets Void Bloom out of the equation early, so this is a really good start for them. Toxtricity also has this Blizzard to work with, and I mean, you don't need to right now. You've taken the Lucio out, so it's just a matter of playing patient, letting Hyuka charge up this Grav, and I mean, just kind of trying to bait Peach Posse into playing the way you want them to play, which is exactly what is happening here. But Saccharine falls a little bit earlier than expected. Toxtricity has the Blizzards and does get a pick off the back of it. Winter on the flank. Reaper finding a couple more kills, but not going to be enough of them as Hyuka finds 3 and Toxtricity cleans up. It's gonna be all on the Orbital Ray from Quizzical here to hold on to this one, but Peach Posse, they've got a couple more tools.
They've got 3, they could pop either of it, and the Orbital Ray is not going to be there to bail them out of a Junker Queen ultimate.
Void Bloom!
Void Bloom down is a recipe for disaster.
I mean, you were so close to the sound barrier. You practically needed that one. Shubu also goes off the edge of the map there. A couple picks coming out off the back of the Blossom and the Rampage, though. Peach Posse still very much in this one. Cybele on this Wuyang trying to keep everybody sustained and alive here, but Void Bloom comes back just in time, finds the pick, and Winter will finish Toxtricity as well. It looks like we're going to be going all the way to Gardens here in Lijiang Tower.
That's great turn of pace for Peach Posse, realizing that I think maybe the composition they initially ran out with wasn't really great in brawling out this high charge Zarya. As much as your Sojourn definitely would have been playing safe at a distance and still pumping up high damage, there really isn't anything alongside or beside your Junker Queen really to add that additional damage and get those, final clean up spectacles in them. So looking at what they are at least rolling out on the side for greater than Colin 3, it looks like they won't make any changes. Sybil on this Wuyang has been doing immense work keeping up the DPS line, and I think it's making a difference and at least denying certain pushes, but maybe just not enough.
A little bit like another unfortunate technical error. I like how every time it catches me off guard, so you can see me reach up to turn my light back on. Like, look at how I look without the light, and then with the light. It makes a world of difference.
100%. I think that was like something that another T2 caster, I think Doorcast, told me. Like, you might as well upgrade your lights than upgrade your camera.
Oh, yes.
But what's upgrading is Peach Posse getting, the first set of kills. There's no more Cassidy on point.
Cassidy gone means a whole lot of your damage capability is out of the equation, and Peach Posse is able to take advantage of that. Once again, just like the last point, they are able to win the first fight, get the first control rolling, and there's a very real chance that they can get poked out against this composition. It's almost the same, but the Cassidy versus the Reaper is such a difficult matchup for the Reaper to play. You kind of have to wait for them to come to you.
It's like, yeah.
Posse playing very, very evasively, and eventually Quizzical falls first. Toxtricity and Saccharine to follow. It's another team kill. It feels like these fights go one way or the other definitively. Like, there's been a couple of scrappy fights here and there, but for the most part, it has been 5K on one side.
And Saccharine realizing there really is no long distance hit scan player opts to play this Pharah, which I think will make a difference in adding a bit of damage into all of this, but they're going to have to play patient while Peach Posse has 4 ultimates to work with, so they're going to open up with a rush.
Lot of damage though onto Peach Posse. Perfectly timed is that sound barrier on from Void Bloom. Unfortunately, I believe Adrian may or may not have just rampaged off the map. Doesn't matter though, because Winter is here, and Winter will do all the work required to win the fight.
Yep. Already seeing swaps. You see Hyuga going over to this Diva, Sybil, over to the Kiriko, and I think that's just there to help, at least least be able to poke from different angles, deal with this pesky bridge area that's always hard to cross, but they have no ultimates to work with besides toxicities of big ultimates.
Whip out of the picture as well. Oh, this is a really bad sign for the side of greater than colon 3. Cybele on this Kiri is all that remains, and losing out on the Diva mech is just as bad. There's no way you're getting back into that one. Void Bloom shuts down that notion, and Saccharine, despite fighting back, despite finding Shubu with the barrage, it's not going to be enough of a fight here. This is a 99-0, about to be a 100-0 scoreline for Peach Posse.
Great job to Peach Posse for turning things around. The first round of Lijiang did look a bit dicey from them, but as I said, the fact that they managed to get that 44% when they should not have gotten that 44% means they are capable of turning things around and changing the game plan as needed to get their respective wins. So I think if you are greater than colon 3 though, you might need to make some of these swaps a bit earlier, but also understand which characters in the composition of Peach Posse is causing you the biggest amount of grief. And right now, I think it has to be that DPS line one way or another. It's not so much as the Junker Queen, because the Junker Queen is making those openings, but with those openings and those swings, everyone else on Peach Posse, whether that's Winter or Shubu, is just capitalizing on the damage being created.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the Junker Queen is so interesting to watch because obviously she's not a super prevalent character in modern Overwatch. She does kind of get outclassed by other brawl tanks, such as, for example, the Orisa. Probably why we saw the Orisa band come out from Peach Posse in that first map there. Just being able to play that comfort hero, not having to worry about something like the Orisa would be very nice. So you absolutely love to see it in advance from them. And moving forward, I am very, very curious to know what the next map and bands are going to be. So it's going to be interesting.
It will be interesting, but first we do have to figure out which type of, I guess, map we are.
Sounds like my co-caster has been lost to the sands of time. I am
my
sure she
video
will
has been lost to
return,
the sands of time.
That's interesting. Your video. Can the stream still hear my co-caster Echo? Okay. Okay.
I exist
misunderstood that.
I exist as a voice in the sky now, so
Gotcha.
But
No,
we
I
are
was
having
confused.
I'm having camera issues, but this is what happens when Echo decides that. Well, this is what happens when Echo tells me not to cast and help her with production. Boo, spectacle. Oh, boo, scary, right?
This is cinema, is what it is. It's me talking to the people. The people can only look and talk to me right now. How are you doing today, people? I saw that Hunter Tane rated the stream earlier. Thank you, Hunter Tane. I hope you're doing well, and I can't wait to lose our first CGL match together this Sunday. It's gonna be a great time.
That is entertaining, but I hope you guys do not lose that match though.
No,
hopefully you turn things around.
Solo cam for a minute. Hey, that's entirely fair. Whoa, it's just me. I have to get higher in the frame, so I'm above my name. Yeah, there we go. Hello everyone. So now Thor is back, so I don't have to do
what
this
is it
anymore.
with video ninja right?
This
Oh wait, no.
strange. There we go.
I'm having severe connection issues.
Guys, Thor is back.
Hi.
Wave hello to the camera. Yay. But yeah, I mean that first map was, I think, pretty indicative of the rest of the series. I think that if Orisa got banned by Peach Posse in that first map, and they didn't win it, I think that they'd be in a really compromising position for the rest of the series. Because obviously, that character really, really shuts down the Junker Queen, which is what they seem to be most comfortable running. And the moment you ban her out, this is like, okay, we need this map. Otherwise, like, this ban that is crucial to the game plan is off the table for the rest of the series. So it is amazing that they were able to take the Lijiang Tower map there.
Right, and I think Lijiang Tower being the ban, like being an Orisa ban, is such a crucial factor. I think Orisa is definitely strong as brawl comps, but more so brawl comps when played in something that's a bit more chaotic, like Flashpoint or Control. So being able to ban that out in, a control map and then get the respective win is already, a huge game changer in your books because now you may have to run into that Orisa in another brawlier map, but I think there you already are ready to keep up with maybe your own Orisa or even change the type of composition that you're running. And by then, it's not so much as a challenge or at least as complex to run into an Orisa v Orisa in other maps compared to Lijiang Tower, which probably everyone has practiced playing Orisa in.
For sure, for sure. I'm wondering what the next map is going to be from Greater Than Colon 3, because obviously, I mean, we saw a couple of particular looks from them. Obviously, they rolled out on the Zarya, so they are very comfortable with that one hero in particular. I'm just wondering where they go from here, because, I mean, obviously, you could just pick, like, I don't remember what the map pool is off the top of my head, so forgive me if this map isn't in it, but they could pick, hypothetically, like a Watchpoint Gibraltar, make this a completely different kind of game, one that's way more focused on verticality. Pick a Winston composition, pick Genji, something like that. Obviously, they can't ban Tracer anymore, so there is a very real chance they go to a map where Tracer is particularly dominant, something like an Ilios or something like that. So a lot of options for him.
I think the bigger issue more than anything is which map type we're headed, because I think if I remember right, losing team gets to select which map we are headed for, and pick their corresponding map there. And it looks like
They
they'd
are.
rather play a hybrid from the get-go and bring us to. We are really living in the comforts of normalcy and experience by going to another quintessential Overwatch map. Yes, we are headed to the wet and kind of gloomy side of King's Row.
Another one of those maps that, every single Overwatch player has seen a million times. You queue up quick play and King's Row is an option. At least 7 people in that lobby are going to be voting for King's Row.
I am that one person who will vote Midtown when that happens.
I would vote for a lot of other hybrid maps instead of King's Row. If I'm being entirely honest, I like King's Row, but I've played it so many times. Let me mix it up a little bit here and there, okay? Let me play Paraíso. Let me play Hollywood.
Okay,
Actually,
whoa,
that's a
whoa,
lie.
whoa,
That's a
whoa,
lie.
whoa, whoa,
I don't know
whoa,
why
whoa.
I don't know why I said
I think
Hollywood. I don't like
Paraíso's a
Hollywood.
very extreme take.
I
out
like
of all of this.
Paraíso.
I
I
am.
like it. I'm a
Well,
fan.
well, we have to wait and see if that's something that all these two other teams agree with. What they do not agree with is what characters they want in the game. And for something as standardized as King's Row, the fact that we're banning out a Lucio is bonkers.
It is a little bit interesting here, but I mean, I suppose it does make sense. We saw a fair bit of Lucio gameplay coming out from Void Bloom in that previous map. She was kind of tearing it up, and on the other side of things, Peach Posse getting rid of the Zarya also makes sense here, just to ensure that one of those major brawl tanks is off the table. However, this time you do still have to contend with the Orisa potentially, so I mean, it will not surprise me at all if Peach Posse in about 8 seconds here shows us a Junker Queen, but they could surprise us with something like a Ramatra or
I
a
think it's gonna be a
Orisa.
Ramatra or Narissa. At this point, I stand corrected.
I got it.
Hyuga,
I'm a genius.
See, for a moment there, I thought Peach Posse was going to go through some mind tricks that, hey, we banned out the Zarya, so we can now play a Orisa who can at least will not melt from high beam damage from a Zarya. But the fact that they're opting to run a Junker Queen says something different from how they want to play, especially if we're doing this on attack with. Okay, I was going to question this even more if they stuck with the Genji. With the Zenyatta, because I do not think Kiriko Zen are is enough heals to keep the high damage of a Cassidy Orisa up. So already making swaps, seeing what is needed, and Winter already switching over to this Reaper along with Shubu to this venture, realizing that they need this brawlier high source of damage to contend with the Orisa of Hyuga.
Yeah, the swaps immediately make sense. They're going with heroes that just collaborate and mesh with this Junker Queen a whole lot better, but a couple of supports are already off the field. Spacebar and Vengeful no longer a factor. Peach Posse, despite the fact that they're able to put a lot of pressure and move greater than :3 away from the point, they don't have a lot of point presence right now. They're only just now going to be getting the first tick, and it will go through, but with Void Bloom going down, it might be more difficult. But they do manage to find Hyuga. Toxtricity, though. Icicle to the Dome of Spacebar does seal the deal. They are able to retake this one, only giving up 39%, but I mean, if you're Peach Posse, you're very happy with the fact that you even have a tick.
Hey, you have a Mei. That Mei is pretty much your second tank the moment your Orisa goes down. No ultimates to work with, except for this High Noon Blizzard combo from Greater Than Colin 3, probably opening up with a High Noon just to create some space, delay the time, and for everyone to get set up.
A little bit of time here, moving in, and Toxtricity out of the equation. Winter on this Reaper, gonna be able to shut down the Deadeye as well, so both of your DPS gone. It's just a couple more players stopping this point from being captured entirely, but they are not easy characters to get rid of. Vengeful and Sybil are both gonna go down though, so eventually this Orisa will be gone, and just like that, you're making progress. That should just be enough to get you the first point.
Yep, it should be, and if I were Greater Than Colin 3, without my Orisa and being the last to spawn, no point in fighting for this point. Might as well hold that second corner, but there are going to be 9 ultimates on the board in this next engagement. I will not be surprised if around 6 get popped in this next engagement. Which ones? A bunch of...
Big usage of the Rampage, hitting 4 players, including the Kiriko, who had just used the ultimate. So I mean, that's just beautiful stuff. That's just gorgeous gameplay coming out from Adrian. This Queen definitely proving to be an effective pick so far.
What these two teams are also proving to me is they do not burn all 9 ultimates in a fight, realizing that 2 from each side is just enough. So they're going into this next engagement with a healthy ult economy, probably opening up with a Coalescence, and I think an aggressive Wuyang ult onto a Reaper followed by a Blossom might just spell trouble for Greater Than Colin 3.
Oh, but they do get the early pick out onto Shubu. Winter is able to secure a couple more though. That's, I mean, it's a good start for Greater Than Colin 3, but I mean, losing out on that many players that quickly. The cart's not moving right now, so there's a very real chance they can get a recontest, but that is not a good fight to be losing.
No, it's not. But hey, if there's one saving grace is you do still have that Coalescence, so you should be able to brawl it out just a bit better compared to Peach Posse if you're Greater Than Colin 3. But someone does indeed have to touch and get this, this fight on the point at least started. Already Hugo switching over to a Diva just to mitigate the damage.
Shubu is going to get the benefits of that ultimate from Wuyang, and they'll be able to transfer that into a kill on the Kiriko. So a couple more players are going to fall on each side, but I mean, it's still looking real good for Peach Posse. With Toxtricity out of the equation, there's no way that they're going to be able to consistently contest that anymore. They will get the second point, and they are blazing through King's Row right now.
Yep, Peach Posse up and healthy in numbers, while Greater Than Colin 3 are trying to figure out an answer to this composition of Peach Posse. No ultimates for Peach Posse just yet, building up towards a Rampage, so Sybil has to keep that Suzu up and running, but Sakharine with a High Noon might turn things around.
Looking a little bit worse for wear is Greater Than Colin 3, but They do have tools to work with, particularly these DPS ult. You've lost out on Vengeful so early in the fight. You do get a trade onto Void Bloom. Absolutely something you're happy to walk away with, but I mean, this is just struggle city right now for greater than :3, losing numbers all the time. Vengeful is going to be able to get back relatively quickly, but I mean, this gets more and more scary by the second. Vengeful dies again! And just like that, you've been hit with a 3-man rampage. No kills come directly from it, though, as the DPS from Peach Posse fall. Sybil will eventually be able to get out of there, but like the ultimates will just simply not matter here for Peach Posse. They'll throw things in, but greater than :3, they finally like firmly stand their ground.
Yep, and if I am Peach Posse, I think it's back to the drawing board. Really find a combination of ultimates to open things up and get the picks. I think tossing ultimates to what might have been already a lost fight without a plan wasn't really the best option. Now you don't have support ultimates to work with. Greater than :3 has this rush, and they're going to open up with it and maybe potentially follow up with a coalescence just to keep everyone up and healthy.
Distinct possibility here for sure, but greater than :3, they have a lot of options to work with as it stands. Winter out of the picture early, so I don't think you're going to have to worry too much about losing out on this fight because, again, Shubu pops the tectonic shock in that fight, but doesn't end up finding anything super significant here. And Adrian currently very, very, very far away from that rampage, walled off away from the team, and in a little bit of trouble as it stands here. Still not dead though. Old Diva Bomb goes out and Spacebar is going to fall victim. A whole lot more damage, and Adrian eventually does get shut out and shut down.
Yep. Blizzard was committed by Peach Posse, so I think the plan maybe might be to ult in, using that Wuyang ult, place it on your Reaper, really be aggressive with it, and then get maybe a stun, then follow it up with maybe a Blossom, because I'm sure Saccharine is going to try their very best to deny, this Blossom that's incoming. So greater than :3 will have to pop ultimates to deny any aggression.
Saccharine with another Deadeye. Seems to be getting these at least like once every 2 fights, and the combination of the Death Blossom on the Wuyang ult is just going to be so much pressure. Saccharine succumbs to it, but not able to find a whole lot else off the back of it. Void Bloom and Spacebar out of the equation as well. Shubu able to find a return pick onto their counterpart, and a whole lot more pressure going forward here, but there's only 15 seconds left. Peach Posse's support line has to get back quickly, especially Spacebar with that Kitsune rush. Going to be very important moving into the final moments of Peach Posse's attack here.
Managing to get back in man is Hyuga, but already double ultimates from Peach Posse to open things up, not looking great.
Big ultimates there. Adrian and Shubu both hitting multiple targets with their ultimates. And there will be a little bit more stall, but at this point, this should just be a map completion for the side of Peach Posse. Rather comfortably, too.
Yep, just a few more stalls on the point, Baby Diva being a nuisance. But this should be clean up city for Peach Posse with the numbers in their advantage. So I think we will get there soon, especially with Winter doing all the cleanup. So if there's one thing I want that we see from greater than :3, this was a solid hold from them. Let's be clear. They actually dwindled the time so much considering how much Peach Posse rolled it. So they've set their goal, which is they definitely need to complete King's Row, no matter what, whether that's through overtime or even with time. I think for them, they prefer with time so that they have a chance to actually win it and not put it in a silly draw. I may have spoken into existence, though.
Why would you speak it into existence? That's crazy. Why would you say this? I can't believe it. Yeah, it is as you say, greater than :3. They do a very good job of defending that third point in particular. I mean, the first point retake after losing the first tick, very good start, but that Streets phase did not particularly go their way. I don't think they want to fight on Streets phase. But, I mean, they are able to turn it around and hold all the way until overtime on that third point, which could end up being crucial for them. So now moving over to greater than colon three's attack, they are showing off a very similar composition to what they ran on the defense.
I do like Peach Posse going for this Orisa, which I think allows for a more defensive staying power for your tank compared to a Junker Queen. So we're going to definitely see an interesting mirror. Saccharine probably going to try to get a lucky pick maybe to start things off, but there really is nothing there. So already you see the swap to that Cassidy, that's high volume damage. Peach Posse though has to care for their HP, especially Void Bloom.
They gotta keep an eye out for sure. And Void Bloom, as you say, does take a fair bit of early poke damage, and Adrian, potentially caught pretty far forward here, is able to retreat here with the help of the Orisa cooldowns, but already there's a whole lot of point pressure out for greater than colon 3. They get the first pick, and nobody has died in this round yet. Whole lot of players on both sides, and Peach Posse, they are going to be the ones who find the first elimination. Saccharine and Vengeful completely out of the picture. Sybil shortly to follow. Toxtricity putting pressure on Winter here, but eventually the Disruptor shot is what does it. And, I mean, it's good. It's a great start for greater than colon 3. And they do get a tick out of it, but they do get driven away.
May players do get practice on hitting right clicks. This comes from both sides, but sometimes you really do need to know how those projectiles work. No ultimates do work with Peach Posse close to that May Blizzard, and that's going to spell trouble, but they know that they are struggling to break through this very tankier hold, so greater than colon 3 are going for a Tracer Pharah Pincer so that there's damage on all sides, causing a bit much stress onto the players of Peach Posse.
It's a good boot from Toxtricity onto Winter, forcing the Sojourn to rotate to a different part of the high ground after going low. But I mean, as more and more picks come through from the side of greater than colon 3, it just looks like more and more that they will be able to take it here. Void Bloom goes down. There's still players returning from the point, and with Adrian out of the equation, you don't really have a lot of point presence here. Winter can't do much about this on 25 HP, so the point will be captured. 4 minutes and 30 remaining for greater than colon 3.
Luckily enough, they dodge what is called my favorite Moira Orb moment. Greater than colon 3 will have a Coalescence, and there's this Blizzard to just deny the push, which I think is a great use of ultimate for Shubu, because it stalls the push, allows for everyone else to regroup, but there's a Pulse Bomb online. Not online.
I mean, Shubu does use that in a slightly unconventional position, and Winter goes down as soon as the trigger is pulled on the overclock. The Rocket just swoops in and says, no thanks, we're not dealing with that. Peach Posse, they are going to have both of their players swapping DPS immediately. We're going to be seeing Cassidy Echo.
Yep, I think that is high volume damage for Peach Posse. You really don't need the wall as much anymore. But the picks still going along the way of greater than colon 3, making sure that Peach Posse can't stabilize the way that they want. So you will have both DPS ultimates and a support ultimate for greater than colon 3. So Peach Posse will have to open up with a Kiriko Rush just to even get things turned around in their favor. Something to begin with. But we need someone to market as Pharah, because Toxtricity is doing so much work in peppering damage onto the support line of Peach Posse.
Did a whole lot of work, as you say. The Echo here, also a character capable of outputting an absurd amount of damage. Not going to be enough, though. The early damage is going to be enough for greater than colon 3 to break through this one. A couple of DPS ultimates plus Wuyong is going to give them that second point. And this time bank is kind of gross right now. They're going into this one with 240.
I think it's just pretty much a repeat of the attack phase of Peach Posse, which just puts into perspective that some of these teams are just attack-leaning teams like that really struggle to defend. So that's why control maps are very good for them. But Shubu getting that pick on Saccharine starts it off very well, and they should be able to get this Pharah out, hopefully, but as I say that, they managed to do so.
Shubu with a couple of very nice picks at the beginning of that fight there, and they're looking to be able to bring it back a tiny bit. Hyuka nearly goes down amidst that Terra Surge, but does not in the very end of it all. Hyuka still does end up falling, though, taking a little bit too much damage on the front line there, and it does look like we have a a slight technical difficulty. We seem to have lost Adrian. You hate to see it.
You
We're
hate to
getting a
see.
lot of technical difficulties today, Thor.
Look, this is why you have. I personally think matches should be held on a weekend because I
Mm.
think Wednesday matches can get uncontrollable tech wise, and I'm going to run through an issue yet with my camera again.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes, more issues. That's what we needed on this broadcast tonight, y'all. You love to see it. That's kind of true, actually. Getting them all out of the way now so we don't have to deal with them later on is a big deal here. We sounds like we're heading back in here. Adrian very quickly able to get back into this one. You know, sometimes the game just crashes, sometimes the internet just crashes, sometimes like things will be all good when people come right back into it. Adrian says R down in the corner, so we will be getting back into this one very shortly.
Yep. Back and with enough time at least for both tanks to be back on the field as Hyuga has just been sent back to the spawn room, so both should be coming back equally at the same time. Swaps happening for greater than Colin 3. The high burst damage of Winter and Trubu forcing this Diva swap, which could hopefully allow for a better push, but Void Blue getting Saccharine is not the way you want to go.
Definitely not the way you want to start this fight out. Void Bloom with the early momentum setter, shoving a wave directly into Toxtricity's wall there, but I mean, at this point, it's just a matter of like keeping everybody alive for greater than colon 3 until your Cassidy comes back to the action. Saccharine is such an important part of this composition because of the ability to do that much poke damage, and now taking a slight angle here is Winter off at a weird spot, and I mean, Hyuka tries to punish it, but isn't quite able to do so. Shubu, once again, able to find the Cassidy. Saccharine falling.
I think the struggle really for this team is, even with that copy into with the Wuyang ult spells trouble, it's just the fact that there's a lot of damage coming from above and below from Peach Posse that's making it a struggle for Hyuga to just stay alive and take in or soak in all the damage. I think at this point, with how high volume the damage is from Peach Posse, you might have to switch the type of composition that you're running from greater than colon 3. Like, yes, there may be some space for this Wuyang to be able to deal the damage and impact that they want to, but I think the amount of healing that's needed isn't really doing much disservice. The fights have to be quick because you have a Moira.
Out goes the Wuyang ultimate now onto the Diva, and Saccharine this time is going to be able to get the first pick. Both teams losing out on a support, though. The Orbital Ray still on the field for Peach Posse. They do use that to a certain extent, but it's not going to last for very long here. Hyuka, falling rather low, is forced to use the Diva Bomb to get back into the mech here, but it just won't end up mattering here because Winter hits every necessary shot, and now greater than colon 3 are about to be down to less than a minute.
But also, down less than a minute previously was Peach Posse trying to close out King's Row. So
Yep.
if you are greater than colon 3, you are hoping to massively hit this huge with that Moira ultimate to engage and hopefully maybe get this Echo first, because Shubu is the closest to ultimate. You don't want that in this next push or to be built mid-fight.
You don't want to have to wait for it that long, but 43 seconds remaining in the game, and Vengeful's out of the equation. You're about to lose Hyuka again, too. Oh, this just gets worse and worse for the side of greater than colon 3. I mean, you have just one ultimate right now. Maybe Sybil is going to be able to charge up the Wuyang ultimate as well, but I mean, over on the side of Peach Posse, you've got a duplicate, you've got a Deadeye, you've got the Wuyang ultimate that I don't know the name of. It's rough right now for greater than colon 3.
Look, I do not want to butcher how he says the voice line for it, so we're not trying it on stream, but there is definitely a touch needed, and Vengeful just fades in, trying to get a pick, looking for this Wuyang, the best target so far.
And I mean, it's a good target there, able to take that out of the equation, and they just don't touch. Greater than colon 3 simply does not touch the points.
the sheer aura of Peach Posse, I guess. How do you just deny? I think just the amount of burst damage needed to survive on point might have been that deterring factor. But I think if you're at last fight territory, that's something you still need to commit to, right? You might as well go guns a blazing on the point, right? Try to turn things around, maybe get like one or two picks, make it easier for your team that's coming back. But it's just really unfortunate for Greater Than Colon 3 that it just fizzles out in that way. But I think now that they see what kind of compositions Peach Posse wants to run, I think, and the fact that they do have a tank, Hyuka, who would want to play that diva, I think you've put yourself in a position where you could play that diva perhaps, and maybe have Adrian pick other tanks and give them a bit of like a struggle.
Yeah, it's definitely a situation where, I mean, map 1 and 2 both were. I'll say they were both pretty close because obviously that second one ended disastrously. Like, there's no other real way you can put it, like, nicely. It was kind of a tragedy, really. But, I mean, up to that point, I thought we were watching the same half. Because first half, it was, like, take a tick, lose the fight, and then eventually take it anyway. Make it through Streets phase, no problem, and then get held on third point. That's exactly what was happening on that second point there until the very end, where one slight misplay just means that we're not going to be able to see what could have happened in overtime there. So, little unfortunate for us, the spectators, but we are going to be going to Esperanza next, according to the HUD on screen. And personally, I kind of expected to see a push map coming up next, so this does make a lot of sense.
I think it makes a lot of sense if you want to at least change the pace of the game or how long it generally runs. Push is very set at, 10 minutes ideally, unless you go into massive overtime, in which you might have a 17-minute game. But it's generally, so I've had those. Generally, though, it is still a good, quick, solid map out of all the map types in Overwatch. Now, would I have gone through it knowing that you were struggling just a bit in the Brawl v Brawl scenario? I might hesitate a bit, but that bridge area of Esperanza is a good diva playing field. It also allows your, I guess, DPS to sit a bit more comfortably, right? So I think that's one way Greater Than Colon 3 might want to play out this map. Alternatively, I will also not be surprised if there might be some compositional swap where, the composition that they're running isn't really working out for them, as much as I do love seeing Wu Yang being played in this and among these teams in Rising, right? It really just shows that he is an impactful new character in the Overwatch support meta. I think that there is a case for that Wu Yang is stronger with certain supports versus others, and I think teams are still trying to figure that out.
For sure, obviously, when the character is brand new, there are a whole lot of like minor intricacies to be figuring out. So it will take time for a lot of teams to learn how to play with the new hero in their composition, no matter what role they are, really. I mean, look at Lifeweaver, for example. That character was considered terrible for a very long time. I still think he's pretty bad, but a lot of people have figured out by now how to play him in a way that's significantly more effective than what we used to think he was capable of. We do have the bans now in play. It is going to be Echo and Diva here. So no Diva is a very interesting ban.
I think the no diva is to allow massive damage from the Peach Posse DPS line to really come and shine through. Diva DM is still such a massive skill in
Mhm.
this game, so you eat up a lot of high volume damage that allows your DPS line or even your supports to just stay alive longer or even get that sliver of few extra seconds to get the damage in and kill things that are flying in the air. So if you're Peach Posse, who's been relying so much on, Reaper, Echo, venture, right? You want that out of the equation. But I think greater than Colin three's answer is you know that the skies of Esperanza allow for flyers to kind of survive just a bit longer. They remove the echo, which is huge burst damage. So this is pretty much evening the playing field, at least in my view, on this initial look of bans.
Makes a lot of sense too, and I mean the Diva ban. I think this is interesting because we've seen Diva a fair bit in this series, obviously, but I think that it's a possibility. I don't think it's a big possibility, but I think there is a chance that we still end up seeing maybe a little bit of Winston, maybe a little bit of Wrecking Ball. I doubt it, but I personally would love to see it. I expect to see Orisa versus Junker Queen to start the map off, but hey, a man can dream.
Look, I think a Junker Queen start is definitely within the cards, especially when you have Adrian playing Junker Queen the way that they want to play the character. But you could see kind of the tone that Peach Posse is setting. They know what tanks they want out. They've only solely been denying tanks. So in their eyes, at least as a team, is the role that sets the tone of how hard a match will be is going to be what tank is going to be on the field. So already reaping the benefits from the bans has been Peach Posse if as they are up 2-0. But I wonder if this Diva ban will just be as impactful when, I think it was Shubu was doing massive damage on that Echo, was carrying some of those defensive fights for Peach Posse. So now that's out of the equation, you kind of have to change things around a bit. And apparently when we say change things around, when we say play Brawl, we're playing not Brawl, we're playing the Monkey Brawl, which is like...
Let this be real. Let it be real.
This is gonna be real.
Yes!
They're at the doors! This is real!
Yes!
So, two things have come to fruition. One, we're not playing Brawl on Esperanza, which is great. No Brawl tanks to be seen. Monkey's like semi-Brawl, whatever, but like pretty much more dive. And then number two, Kiriko is not banned on a map 3, so someone like Monteneva is going to be praising the heavens of sorts because Kiriko is not banned on map 3.
Shout out to Monteneva, big fan of that guy. But either way, we're looking at a very, very familiar composition from Peach Posse. If you've been watching the Korean OWCS in the last few games, they're going to be running that Tracer Genji double flex DPS composition, and they are going to be able to chase down Sybil very, very early in the round. But both teams are able to chase down a support very early in the round. So it's just a matter of what the follow-up is for both of them. And right now, Hyuka is in a very compromising position health-wise, but Adrian is somehow the first to go down. Hyuka manages to stay alive despite it all.
Yep.
Winter, though, trades back onto Saccharine. This is still a slugfest, back and forth, but I mean, surely they're able to convert off of this one, especially with Hyuka finding the pick onto Winter.
This should be at least leaning in the favor of greater than Colin 3 just now. Not really full stack is Peach Posse, but they managed to force out a pulse bomb and a kill on the tank, so maybe things will turn around for Peach Posse. So allowing for Adrian to just push in and potentially clear things off point, now leaning in their favor team-wise.
There we go.
Looking at the ultimates, definitely we saw Shubu already using that pulse bomb, so that's out of the equation, but they are definitely going to be building towards it again. Saccharine and Vengeful are going to have their own respective ultimates, so just a little build-up should allow for a opening Moira Coalescence, hopefully, to get things started for greater than Colin 3. As for Peach Posse, you are trying to build up at least towards a Kiriko rush because you really do not want Adrian to pop that Primal right away.
Definitely not, and I mean, right now it's just a matter of can one of these Winstons find an early pick? And the answer is no, it's going to be Winter finding Toxtricity very, very early on in this fight. Makes a lot of sense that that would be the character to end up getting it done, and that should just be enough to get Peach Posse over the line here on this first checkpoint. But there is going to be a contest coming out here. Not for very long, though. They do get the checkpoint.
Yep. Checkpoint in the favor of greater than Colin 3, but they should be opening up
Saccharine!
with a Coalescence.
Shubu and Void Bloom, though, going down to Vengeful. Vengeful with a 3K off the back of the Coalescence. I mean, this ultimate is so funny.
I think the fact that you could see it in 4K, the impact of the perk changes with
Oh,
this
yeah.
current patch. Now that the Coalescence does significantly more, you could toggle between healing and damage and have 25% more effectiveness. A player like Vengeful can be vengeful and push in with massive high damage, and you could see Sakurai trying to pincer all the damage, trying to take out Void Bloom.
Yeah, the pincer is here, and it is successful. Spacebar out of the picture. And Shubu also goes down here. There's just so much damage that you cannot escape from if you're Peach Posse here. Greater than Colon 3, they're going to be able to keep moving this robot forward, but I mean, they still have to theoretically win another fight in order to overtake Peach Posse at this point.
I need some of these teams to be a bit more proactive with their ult usage, because I think we're holding on to ultimates for too long and just like getting picked off in the process. So opening up with a pulse bomb rush might be the answer for Peach Posse.
Oh, Winter. Winter out of the picture is really bad for the side of Peach Posse. That's a big value ultimate you've just lost out on completely. And Greater than Colon 3, they take advantage. That's going to be forward spawn. That's going to be the lead for them. Overtaking just as soon as they get past this butt scratch phase.
Yep, butt scratch gonna stall the point just a bit longer for Peach Posse to regroup. You have 3 ultimates. You can open up with Blade, nothing really to deny it. Maybe a huge massive stick from Sakurai might start things off. But other than that, there's nothing really denying it if you can find Vengeful right away, because high volume damage focused Coalescence is gonna change things.
Oh, but yep, both of them are gonna fall very quickly. Hyuka and Toxtricity will live for now, but that may not be the case for much longer here. Hyuka does grab the health pack, but will they escape? It looks like no, not this time around. All 5 dead, and that Winston get extremely staggered as well, so they'll all get out just fine.
Yep, but it will definitely look like Hyuga won't be there in time. Forward spawns just turning in the favor before they could respawn. Peach Posse still with that pulse bomb and primal means they could survive another day. But what does not survive another day is that pulse bomb from Sakurai, missing just a bit too wide, and Void Bloom marking them as necessary. So already things not looking so great.
Sakurai with an unfortunate pulse bomb miss, and I mean, it doesn't spell the end of the fight. That's the thing with Pulse Bomb. You can just throw it out there, and theoretically, you can have it back pretty quickly. But this time around, Toxtricity does go down to the Primal Rage. Adrian looking very solid on this hero right now. Winston is being extremely effective. Was that the new Bubble Toss? He just had a different animation for that. I think that was Bubble Toss.
I think it was too, but what Peach Posse still does not have is the bot in their favor, and Vengeful is just there to contest it just a bit longer along with Hyuga on Primal, so this is going to turn around for Greater than Colon 3.
Oh my, yeah, I mean, it's as you say, they managed to turn it all the way around. I thought Peach Posse had that off the back of the pick onto Toxtricity earlier, but I mean, Tox is back at this point. It's not looking amazing for the side of Peach Posse, because once again, it's going to be going over towards their side of the map. The robot heading right back to reset Greater than Colon 3 forward spawns at any moment now.
Yep. If I am Peach Posse, my goal is to build towards a Kiriko ultimate and maybe get the Kiriko of the enemy team in the process, because that should open things up in your favor.
Yeah, that's big. And getting Vengeful also absolutely massive. Toxtricity in the backline attempting to take Winter out of the picture, but Winter does clean up. This Genji is simply too nice. And I mean, this has just felt like an extremely scrappy fight that's been continuing for the last like 3 minutes. This has not stopped for an instant, but now we finally get a moment to breathe as Peach Posse threatens to overtake the lead.
Yep, spacebar, Winter with ultimates. Will not be surprised if this is a combo into, followed by Vengeful also maybe coalescing in with damage.
Coalescence not used quite yet, but there's the blade. Winter finding both supports in the backline, But both supports also dead for Peach Posse. It's just a matter of who can do more damage faster at this point. But Hyuka rings the bell, runs away, and taps out. We are going to see a lead change here for the first time in about 5 minutes. Peach Posse, retake.
Yep, 2 minutes on the board for greater than quality 3 to turn things around. What also has not happened in those past 3 or 4 minutes is Coalescence still being held by Vengeful, trying to find a great opening for it. And I think right now might be the answer if there's a monkey in your face.
Opts to use it to get away instead. Toxtricity does find the pick onto Winter, and Void Bloom goes down as well. So honestly, I think it was a very smart decision to hold onto it in that instance. Not going to need it, and just like that, the entirety of Peach Posse goes down. It is a very clean team kill from the side of greater than colon 3, and now they have a challenge in front of them, but definitely not impossible.
It's definitely feasible for them to overtake it. They are at an ult advantage, leading by 2 or at least 1.5 in this next engagement. Peach Posse still need to build towards their other 2, so this is more of a test of using, not dumping ultimates from greater than colon
3. Wu Young ultimate goes out onto Shubu, but falls very low very early, partially thanks to the tectonic shock. But Saccharine, despite all of that, is going to be the first player to go down. Hyuka also falling. That is so much point presence just completely out the window now. More players fall, and oh, we're down to less than a minute. And the forward spawn is about to be reset for greater than colon 3. They will not have that to work with.
Yep. A minute. Less than a minute left. Both teams will have Kiriko rushes for this next engagement. What's also available is a Pulse Bomb trying to force out a Suzu. None just so yet. So Shubu is there pushing the bot with a Pulse Bomb still in hand.
Oh, and I mean, you get punished hard for that. The Pulse Bomb misses, and I mean, Peach Posse, they take that opportunity to run away with it. The bot is beyond the checkpoint with less than 20 seconds in the map. Winter finds Toxtricity too. Oh, it might just be over for greater than colon 3. You have a date with the lower bracket, and you need to get ready for that one.
Yeah,
Blade is popped. Winter just going to be putting the seal on this series. Overtime ticks away, and just like that, greater than colon 3 fall in an 0-3 fashion to Peach Posse.
Great job for Peach Posse capitalizing on their respective bans. I think the selection of which tanks to ban really impacted how they wanted to play, which compositions they wanted to play, and already reaping the benefits. So they continue through this upper bracket with a 3-0, while greater than colon 3 will have a date, as you said, in the lower bracket, and I think it's going to be against Monarch MX.
Yeah, and I would like to point out, right, that this was in fact at least according to the seeding, an upset. We did see Peach Posse come in 5th overall in Swiss. Meanwhile, we saw greater than colon 3 landing in the 4th place position. So really, really good stuff to Peach Posse for being able to, take it to a team that has numerically done a little bit better than them this season. I think that despite the 3-0 scoreline, I think that you and I can agree, Thor, that this was a pretty close match, particularly on the 1st and the 3rd map. The second map, debatably less close, but still potentially close.
100%. I think even if you take a look at the second map, it was still close, right? Both teams just speeding through first and second point of King's Row with no issues whatsoever, and just being stopped yet again at that third point, right? Peach Posse having to cap it on overtime, whereas on the other side, greater than colon 3 were just stopped completely at some point in third point. But either way, they had their time dwindled out at that third point. So you could argue that they are pretty closely matched up teams and are competitive. I think the main difference for some of these fights is just the proactivity in ultimate usage. I think there's a case to be made that sometimes you do just have to use certain ultimates already rather than holding it. just to potentially either turn a fight or at least open up a fight, because some ultimates you could just get them back just as quickly.
For sure. And I think that if there's only one player I can highlight during this series, obviously every single one of them did phenomenally, but I mean, I think that Adrian and Winter in particular were standout players in this series. Obviously, when you have a hero like Junker Queen that is so like niche and hard to play in some of these matchups, but you still make her look that good, it's phenomenal stuff. And I mean, Winter is listed on this team sheet as a hit scan DPS, and yet we saw her come out and play that well in the double flex composition anyway. So huge ups to the both of them in particular. In my mind, I could not pick between the two for like an MVP for this series. But we may not have to wait very long to see which of them performs better on the day, because we have a second series coming up. We're going to be going to a quick break, and when we come back, we're getting an upper bracket match. welcome back everybody to Peach Posse going up against Sakura Mochi. Now, Peach Posse, they've done a very good job thus far. The number 5 seeded team come in, they beat the number 4 seeded team. Now it's time for them to play the number 1 seeded team. We are here in the winners semis, and it is already going to be a very scary matchup for them.
Yep, this has to be probably one of the biggest hurdles they will have to face to even clinch a spot in that, grand finals, right? If they can get past Sakura Mochi, I don't think it's going to be as easy of a climb even afterwards as we take a look at the brackets.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be difficult for all of these teams involved at this point. But I mean, over in the quarterfinals, we saw a whole lot of 3-0s. Dreamlight Academy moving up over PXP Rising, Fruit Salad over Lotus Rising, who did manage to take a map, by the way. So watch out for them in the losers. But down in the lower bracket, Monarch mix up against Greater Than Colon 3. That one's going to be a knockdown drag out match. Loser goes home, winner moves on to loser's quarters, but I mean, that's not the one we're going to be seeing today. Like I said, Sakura Mochi Peach Posse, that's going to be our matchup here on this stream, Thorumea, and I'm excited for this one.
I mean, I'm excited for this too because if there's one thing Peach Posse can do, it's really hopefully continue this upset. Because the moment you upset that first seed in this playoffs, you're just going to potentially continue more upsets because I'm sure this Dreamlight Academy Fruit Salad match is also going to be immensely competitive. But let's take a look at what map we are going to be heading into because Sakura Mochi gets priority, and we are somehow yet again on Lijiang Tower.
Wow.
Nothing surprising.
Who could have foreseen this one? Nobody has ever seen a Lijiang Tower map 1. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. People like Busan and Ilios, and please give me Ilios, please. I just want to see Ilios once tonight. I just want to see Ilios, man. I love Ilios. It's my favorite map.
You also said what happens to be my favorite control map is actually Busan. So
I am a big Busan fan.
I'm a big Busan fan. I will pick Busan over Lijiang Tower if given the choice in my matches. But this is not my match to say, but this is the match of Peach Posse versus Sakura Mochi. So let's take a look at what bans both teams have decided to go with. And already Peach Posse very stuck to their playbook. Yes, yet again it is an Orisa ban on Lijiang Tower for them. Sakura Mochi though, going for a Symmetra ban. So this is not too surprising of a ban either, especially if you're expecting TP shenanigans from the other team. But obviously, we know what Peach Posse want to run on the Lijiang Tower. We just saw it an hour ago.
Yeah, it's gonna be the Junker Queen again. Who's shocked? I mean, they're nice at this character. The rosters are ready to go, by the way. We're going to be taking a look at both of them, starting with Sakura Mochi, the team we haven't seen on broadcast tonight. Sentence, Pauzane, Goose Duck, Patroclus, and Soprich. I think I butchered a couple of those pronunciations, so I am going to look at the team sheet again.
You are clearly on point for most of them, but on the other side, they're a familiar face. We just casted them a few minutes ago, but they are back with a vengeance and to do more damage to your prediction brackets. Yes, it is Peach Posse with Winter and Shubu starting that DPS line. Adrian back at it again with that Junker Queen, and Void Bloom and Spacebar rounding up that stellar backline.
Yeah, I mean, I pointed out 2 specific players in Winter and Adrian at the end of that last segment, but I mean, every single one of these players had a standout moment or two during that series. Spacebar was hitting phenomenal kunai throughout, Void Bloom was a phenomenal main support throughout the entirety of that match, and Shubu doesn't matter what DPS character they were on point the entire time. So definitely a roster that can threaten that number 1 seed status for sure going into this winter semifinals here. I am very curious to see how this one plays out. Is it going to be similar to the first time we saw Lijiang tonight? Is it going to be somehow completely different? I think a lot of that depends on what the side of Sakura is going to be bringing to this fight.
I think the Symmetra ban might give us a hint on potential tanks that might be running out. You could have something like maybe a Wrecking Ball coming out. It could be something like maybe a Diva. You wouldn't be surprised also if it's, a shieldier kind of tank that, Symmetra could capitalize upon with high beam damage. But as the seconds tick down, we will see the decision making process, and there we go. We see the Ramatra. Now, even with some nerfs to his name, is still a solid character to run up, especially against maybe something like a Junker Queen. But they do have to be immensely careful about these Mei walls, because this time around there really isn't a block or a punch combo to save or bail you out through those, unfortunate walls behind you.
Definitely not in this instance, but I mean, this feels somewhat familiar here. The only difference in hero composition for both of these teams is going to be the tank, and I mean, in an instance like this, you have to favor the Ramatra team, but Pausane goes down immediately. Adrian finding a very early pick, and now this is a whole lot of pressure out here onto Gustav. The wall goes out, and eventually the Ramatra will fall. That's going to be an absolute first fight win for the side of Peach Posse here.
Yep, hoping to get Patroclus before their escape manages to do so. Point should turn over to Peach Posse. No ultimates to work with, but definitely these Mei walls proving to be a menace for both these tanks. More so Goose stuck in that engagement, so already watching out for walls are both of these tanks.
Looking for something here, but I mean, the wall goes down, isn't able to cut anything off the Simon Patroclus. They find an excellent early pick onto Winter, and I mean, everybody on the side of Peach Posse is very low at this point, so this should just be a one fight and an easy retake. But without Pausane in the picture, it might take a little bit longer. The damage will come through eventually, though. And I mean, it's just a tiny bit more stall. They're gonna get to 33% though. Not bad for Peach Posse, but very, very good stuff played for Sakura.
But if you are Peach Posse, you are building towards your High Noon and Rush. Sakura Mochi definitely already with that rush, so they're going to pop it in this next engagement to slow down any push, but the wall instead of Sakura Mochi's paws pushes or denies any push.
Knife goes out, but not really any bleed to be found here for Adrian. Eventually, Spacebar does get run down, though. Not able to counteract the use of the Kitsune Rush, and Sentence and Patroclus both go off the map. Void Bloom with a double boop kill. I mean, it may not end up mattering in the long term, but I mean, style points.
Yep, Patroclus just dropping as the counterpart Lucio, a big Lucio diff at that moment, forcing everyone from Sakura Mochi to back off to point, making a clean opening for Peach Posse to re-engage, potentially with this Rush High Noon combo to start things off.
Deadeye comes out, looking for something here, and not going to be able to find anything immediately, but Goose Duck falls. That is a whole lot of damage pumped directly into the back of that Ramatra. Both tanks now out of the picture, and Pausane able to turn this one almost entirely on its head by themselves. More players go down though. Void Bloom kind of going crazy on this Lucio right now. Is that 3 kills from Void Bloom? Is that 3 kills to enable the retake from Void Bloom on the Lucio?
I don't even think it's a retake. I think it's more of just to keep the point alive in their favor. Or at least, no, it doesn't need a turnaround. So now Peach Posse is going to have 3 ultimates this engagement. Sakura Mochi, nothing to their name besides a Lucio beat, and that's something to help keep you alive into this Junker Queen ultimate. But their goal is to look for Patroclus, but they find Pausane instead.
Pausane out of the picture here, and I mean, that's exactly what you want to see if you're Adrian, right? That axe just able to completely close things out for the side of Sakura Mochi. Not going to be able to retake here, and Sentence goes down pretty late as well, so not an easy one for the side of Sakura Mochi, but I mean, for a moment we saw Pausane go over to the Widowmaker just to see if anybody would peek their head a little bit too far out, but back to the Cassidy now. Onto a character that makes a little bit more sense on this point. Adrian in the backline, able to use that ultimate pretty effectively. Goose Duck very nearly going down, will get frozen by the blizzard, and she will fall eventually. Patroclus is close to follow. and it just might be enough at this point. Sakura Mochi not able to keep enough people on the points, and just like that, Peach Posse, they answer back.
Void Bloom was at their spawn. They were already looking for a boop whatsoever to continue cleaning things up for Peach Posse, but Void Bloom, who was struggling just a bit in their previous matchup against Greater Than Colin 3, is suddenly popping off on Lijiang Tower in Control Center. So already definitely looking warmed up from that previous match. But looking at the stats, you could see who's been doing a bulk of the work. And for if you're Peach Posse, you like those numbers. You see that everyone on the team is committing to that damage. Whereas on the side of Sakura Mochi, they were definitely struggling to either get some additional damage in or to find the necessary openings. So they're hoping to change things around with this Wrecking Ball composition, allow for a bit more disruption, and make other players uncomfortable from Peach Posse.
It's looking pretty solid for them so far here, but I mean, going into this third point, we see a extremely different composition come out from the side of Sakura. Pauzane has moved over to this Freya, and her swap has already proven effective. Winter's been out of the picture for a little while now. Goose Duck swap onto the Wrecking Ball, also bearing fruit immediately. This is going to be, I mean, almost certainly an early one fight for the side of Sakura, but Peach Posse is not letting them have it that easily here. They do end up taking the first capture despite losing out on early numbers, and Void Bloom comes back with a double kill to seal the deal. What even happened there?
Look, it does not matter if Void Bloom was one of the first to die. It is more of, can my team stay alive long enough so when I get back, I am there to hyper enable them and get the cleanup kills myself. So, Peach Posse already building towards their, at least, Kiriko ultimate along with Sockbridge, so we're not too surprised if it's going to be a rush v rush scenario in this next engagement as both Kirikos build up towards ultimates. Sakura Mochi though will at least have that Freya ultimate, as Pauzane has been doing immense amount of damage for the team with those early picks.
It's looking really solid for them so far, and I mean, I think that from that first fight, we have seen that this composition from Sakura can work into what Peach Posse is running. It's just a matter of finding the necessary picks at the right time, and that is bad timing for the side of Sakura. Losing out on Silk Ridge is not ideal. You do get the trade onto Shubu, so that Blizzard not going to be in the picture for a little while now. The Bola is going to be expended, but not a lot of damage to follow up on the back of it. Void Bloom burns the sound barrier to make sure that isn't too dangerous. Sentence and Goose Duck, though, out of the picture. Winter close to fall, but I mean, this is scrappy, but Peach Posse still pretty definitively coming out on top of most of these engagements.
Yep. Void Bloom keeping themselves alive. 3 ultimates to work with for Peach Posse. Nothing to the name of Sakura Mochi besides this Genji Blade, so Void Bloom is at least trying to stay alive and build towards something. Sentence trying to make an opening with the blade though. Gets one.
A good opening for sure, and I mean, finding the picks onto Spacebar and Winter, that should just be able to get you onto the point. A flip will very likely come through once you get rid of Adrian here, assuming you can get rid of Adrian. This character is still very healthy right now. Above the 400 health, has that bit of self-sustain. The sound barrier just to keep everybody on the side of Sakura alive. Void Bloom goes down next, and eventually the damage is a little bit too much for the Junker Queen because Adrian is out of here. Pauzane, though, despite her falling, she'll take the Mei with her, and that should just be enough to make sure that they're able to hold on for now.
Well, if you're Pauzane and Goose Duck, you're back towards your respective ultimates. Peach Posse don't have anything besides that Mei Blizzard, so I will not be surprised if this scenario is either Shubu pops ult or Goose Duck pops ult to deny point presence or a rotation, and the other one just has to wait until they pop theirs. That has to be the best plan for Peach Posse.
Absolutely, and they're able to go back in very quickly, very aggressively. The minefield goes down and forces Shubu out of that room instantly, though. Goose Duck falls! Adrian with an early pick onto the tank counterpart, and now big plays have to be made here. Sentence also falling early in the fight, and oh, it's scrappy, but eventually this should be Pauzane also dying. More picks come through, and that should just do it for Peach Posse. they will very likely be able to take this one away. Goose Duck very, very low, not going to be able to contest for long. And that should just be a 2-0 for Peach Posse, unless somebody can get back and make a miracle happen. The Patroclus goes down, they will not be able to do anything about it. Pausing gets back in, but she will not be able to do anything about it long term. The Deadeye walks onto the point, nobody will be able to stay for very long. But the Tracer does touch. They are just stalling this one out for as long as possible. The ball is back. The slam goes down, and finally, Peach Posse will close out the 2-0 on Lijiang Tower.
Yep. Petition, at least for Risingcord names, to change the name of Lijiang Tower to commemorate Li Jaegon with maybe a Void Bloom Tower, who is the play of the game for this specific map with that massive 2K that opened things up on this specific map of, what do you call this, of Lijiang Tower. So honestly, massive plays from the Lucio of Peach Posse. Now Sakura Mochi have kind of their back slowly inching towards the wall. We'll need to turn things around with the next map pick.
Yeah, it's already rough having dropped that first map for sure, but I mean, on the bright side, they again don't have that Orisa band to work with anymore. And I mean, it's the exact same thing I brought up in the first series, right? Peach Posse win the map where where their arguably most important ban lies, because they've shown that they were comfortable on the Orisa in the previous series, but I would argue not nearly as comfortable as greater than :3. It was greater, not less. I almost said that wrong, but yeah. Either way, they can play the Orisa, but they can't ban it anymore. So I'm fully expecting Sakura Mochi to take advantage of that somehow. If we end up going to King's Row again, I might start investigating to see if I'm in a time loop. Like, this might actually be Groundhog Day.
Okay. I think you have to start checking it if we end up in King's Row again, and then somehow the ban of Peach Posse is yet again a Zarya ban, right? And then now you gotta question if you are actually in some weird time loop.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the map 1 bans weren't exactly the same. I mean, it was Tracer Orisa in the first series, and then it was Symmetra Orisa here. So, not perfect time loop, but enough of a time loop that I think we can call Bill Murray, right? Like we can.
I think there is a case to be made, at least with the two teams that are currently facing off against each other. We will not see a Lucio ban. At least is my sinking feeling, because I think these are two of the more comfortable heroes for like the main support players of these teams. Granted, though, if Patroclus was given the chance to play Mercy, they would play Mercy.
This I know all too well. I have not told the chat this yet, but I have told the people in this voice call. I actually know Patroclus a little bit. I've played a decent amount of ranked with them. They are a delightful human being. I am a big fan of Patroclus. No bias on this broadcast, but I am a big fan of Patroclus. And yes, they would absolutely be playing Mercy if they could get away with it.
I know a handful of people who would rather play Mercy if they could get away with it, but understand that the current situation of this game really doesn't really lean into like Mercy getting the most value in team settings. But hey, we are at least not in a time loop because we're going to an escort map, which I think is Sakura Mochi's answer to how Peach Posse wants to play, which is Peach Posse is a very brawly style team. You see with that Junker Queen, you've seen with the other tanks they've selected, which has been mostly Junker Queen and then the slight Orisa. But Sakura Mochi, if we are to believe what the visual heroes are for their respective teams, is Goose Duck wants to play that Wrecking Ball. Goose Duck has shown her Wrecking Ball in Lijiang Tower, has gotten some value in it, right? One of the first to at least get ultimates online, right? Knows the disruption really well. So, what better way to play than go to Junkertown, which leans into slightly better favor with a tank like Wrecking Ball?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of these maps that's super wide open and allows for some of these characters that not only are able to control long sight lines, like, you know, something like the Widowmaker or something like the fast moving tanks like the Wrecking Ball, right? Obviously, just the ball, the Winston, able to cut off sightlines like that. I mean, I think less so now because of other heroes that are in the game, but there used to be a room for a whole lot more like poke compositions as well. Sigma comes to mind. Do you remember back in Overwatch 1 when Pirate Ship was a thing? That was an
Oh my god.
interesting time period. But we do
If
have the bands available to us in just one moment here. We are going to be seeing Genji and Bull out of the picture. It seems like Peach Posse know exactly what Goose wants to be throwing out here.
Exactly. You send teams to a map like Junkertown, there are only so many tanks that actually are like significantly strong on that map, and if you know a certain player prefers playing a specific type of tank, you would this is probably the best time for them to remove that out of the equation. Now, Sakuramochi banning the Genji, also a smart pick. You are now forcing I think Peach Posse to either play a double hit scan kind of situation. They aren't as able to opt into, you know, that double flex DPS we saw previously in their match
Mm-hmm.
where Winter was playing that Genji, and Winter really doing well on that Genji also. I think I understand the thought process of Sakuramochi in all of this. So I think this is going to be at least a competitive matchup given that the hero bans are already as impactful as it is.
Does not shock me at all to see Winter flashing and hinting potentially at this Widowmaker here. Okay. Admission time. I love maps like this and Rialto and such because I love Widow duels. They are one of my favorite things to watch. They are one of my favorite things to play in all of Overwatch. I have been a Widowmaker duel fan ever since I started watching in Overwatch League 2018. Are you kidding me? The Pine versus Carpe duels, the Pine versus Bird Ring, classic stuff. And I'm very excited to see another chapter of that duel unfold here on Junkertown. Pausane versus Winter. Pausane with the Sigma here to help her out just a little tiny bit. So, very exciting stuff. Winter on and off angle as well. And these two characters are going to be the ones you really need to be looking out for here. Shubu and Sentence both opting for Tracer as well. So very, very similar compositions for both of these teams.
Just a poke face between these two teams, trying to see who is going to make the first mistake. Grapple shot gets nothing, and this is I think why I am not so much of a fan of escort maps is because this is just poke here, hold angle, poke here, and like that's just really the design of the game until something happens, right? And
Right.
I think the ability to play make is a bit harder to do on an escort map, especially if you're playing support. I feel like that's how it sometimes feels. So already we're just waiting for someone to slip up on one of these teams.
Yeah, the first mistake is often the most important on a map like Junkertown here. Already missing out on a full minute of gameplay time, and Winter is going to be the first one to find a pick on this Widowmaker. Pausane goes down very early, and Sentence unable to get a punish off the back of it. Forced away by the Zenyatta, also here to help out the Widowmaker. So Sigma, a whole lot of damage being pumped in here as well, and Patroclus on this Zenyatta, not going to be able to stay alive for very much longer. This is really, really good start for the side of Peach Posse. Winter does eventually go down, though. Losing out on your ranged pressure is a big deal, especially when Pausane is back in the action.
I like this swap from Patroclus. I was looking at what they were running, and my first thought was, you are going to struggle just a bit on this Zen with how much damage is coming in. So I think
Oh.
the Lucio to aggressively go onto like, players who can't survive on their own just as easily, like, a Wuyang is the best bet, and it's already reaping the benefits. So good swaps from Sakura Mochi, but Peach Posse already building towards 5 ultimates is going to spell some level of disaster, as they will definitely open up with this Kiriko Rush. When it happens. Should it happen.
Now comes a couple more ultimates from the side of Peach Posse here. Shubu, the first player to fall in the fight, though. Did anything get hit by Adrian's flux there? I mean, I'm not entirely sure. She might have missed entirely, but Winter doesn't miss at all. Sentence out of the picture entirely for the remainder of this fight. Has the pulse bomb when they're able to come back, though. Super Rich also going high into the sky off the back of that one. And eventually Goose Duck able to find Shubu, so very, very scrappy here. Spacebar able to win a long-range duel against Pauzane. So this defense without a lot of their damage, but Winter able to get the pick on Sentence. The trade coming out, the stick with the pulse bomb, the melee from the sniper. Very, very solid stuff coming out from both of those players, but I mean, this kind of just seems like eventually Peach Posse will be able to get this over the line.
Yep. Just the picks going in the favor of Peach Posse. Last minute
Never mind.
kills. Never mind. Pausing, hitting it big. Winter back to at least try to pressure this out means that Pausing just has to hide a bit with barely any HP alive. So relying on Adrian to keep this point alive and push it just a bit further with no supports to work with. If you're Peach Posse, you're gonna have to just try to stay alive for a bit if you're Adrian, especially when your supports are still coming back in spawn. So already getting a huge pick on the Lucio is a big, massive change.
Patroclus going down is absolutely massive, and they know that the Kiriko is also very low at this point, has teleported out to the other side of the point, but eventually the pressure does mean that they will fall down. Winter finding Pauzane as well. You've lost Spacebar, but everybody else on Sakura falls, and Peach Posse will eventually be able to get it over the line here. Off the back of some phenomenal play, I want to say particularly from Void Bloom, just to keep everybody sustained throughout that entire fight.
Voidbloom did a great job at least trying to top off Adrian every once in a while waiting for Spacebar to come back. But I give props for Adrian for knowing that they were the only ones left on the point. They needed to play their life to at least keep this map going to fruition while waiting for the supports to come back.
Oh my god,
up.
Winter.
But Winter is just landing shots. This is terrifying. There's a close range with the 1v1 fight. They don't care. Oh, Patroclus is trying to enter in.
Patroclus trying to make this honorable Widow duel a little bit more disingenuous, and it does eventually work in terms of distraction at very least, because Winter will lose out. Patroclus also popping this sound barrier just to ensure that they have the damage necessary to run down this Sigma. And eventually they do, but I mean, look at how far this cart has moved. Adrian also able to find a double here. Goose Duck gets one back onto Spacebar, but there are so many players here out of the equation for Sakura, and I mean, losing out on Patroclus, that makes things even worse at this point.
Oh,
Not able to get the final blow onto the Batiste, but eventually, I mean, this is going over the line. They've just captured the second point.
Voidbloom is just moving, whether it's on Lucio and Lijiang Tower or Wuyang on Junker Town. Seems to be dodging damage left, right, and center, and getting picks is Winter to top things all off, fighting the split. We should be terrified of going to this man's sidelines. Or woman's sidelines.
Falls very, very low there, by the way. Does not... has to back off there. I will also point out, by the way, Patroclus going back to the Zenyatta after a stint on the Lucio. I actually kind of like that on this point here. I think that when you're in an instance where you can walk back out from the spawn room and instantly have sightline onto the cart, like the second half of this point, it is a very valuable pick. But Goose Duck is going to be the more important player here, finding a couple early picks, and then Pauzane able to follow those up extremely efficiently. So big ups to Sakura for being able to stabilize after a very, very brisk second point.
Yep. 1.5 minutes left on the clock. There is a rush online for Peach Posse. So they can definitely open up with that, especially if headed towards the Baptiste window to at least deny the value by speeding past it. Because this one thing with Baptiste window, it's either you play past it or you hide from it. And in this time around, Adrian did not do either.
Yeah, Adrian kind of caught out in the open with her pants down. It's a tragedy sometimes. You know, occasionally the window just appears in front of you and you're like, oh, I have just thrown my shield off to the right. I am dead. Goodbye. You hate to see it. But, I mean, they're able to stabilize eventually off the back of this. 45 seconds left, and they do have ultimates to work with.
Yep, 3 for Peach Posse. Sakuramochi will only have 2. But one of them is a Transcendence, and where's the Flux used?
Wait, where's the Flux? Where is it?
Oh,
Adrian? Shubu? 2 ultimates come out from the side of Peach Posse, and neither of them find any immediate final blows here. They've lost out on so much of their ability to really put an impact in this round. Winter at 83% to a visor at this point. It's struggle city for him. Void Bloom goes down as well. Not an opportunity to use that Weyoung ult before overtime is triggered, and Adrian out of the picture as well. That's just it. That's just the round. Shubu goes down after getting Patroclus, but it's just not going to be enough. Void Bloom gets back to the cart, uses that ultimate, but could have used that a little bit sooner, because that will not be enough to stall this one out for your team to get back. Peach Posse, they do a very good job of getting through the second point quickly, but they can't do much on third.
Yep, stalled just shy of, pushing the cart past, I think, a third of the way. Actually, I sat corrected. That is pretty near the start of the third point of Junkertown. So didn't really go as far as they would have liked. I think there were certain moments where I think in maybe might have been the sheer panic of maybe being pushed up, being pushed aggressively by Sakuramochi. Peach Posse ended up forcing out their respective ultimates. Who is trying to get into the car? Which observer? I applaud the attempt.
Trying to get the car.
I attempt.
Who's doing it?
I respect the attempt, but Patroclus locking in the Mercy is either a story of two things. They are Patroclus is they are either going to be boosting a damage out of spawn and then switching.
We're damage boosting the Widowmaker. We're damage boosting the Widowmaker.
Oh my god, why are we damage boosting?
That's an excellent question.
Oh my god, this is such a cop game moment. This is
one I will have to ask later. But like, I mean, anyway you slice it, this is Patroclus's like most comfortable character, arguably. But I mean, they recognize that maybe not the best to be running right now, so they will swap back to the Zenyatta as Pausane hits a kind of crazy shot onto Shubu. A body shot will be enough to take them out of the picture entirely. So, I mean, Sakura, they've got room to breathe right now, and they've got a lot of it.
Yeah.
Pausane hits another one onto Winter.
I was gonna commend Peach Posse for sticking to a Baptiste this time around for burst healing, but I think part of the challenge now is you might have to brawl it just a bit more than maybe a Kiriko rather than poking from different angles, so it changes the pace of the game, and with Pausing getting those massive picks at the start, this is not great.
I mean, that's a nice pick coming out from Patroclus. I didn't even know that angle existed for Widowmaker. That is disgusting. Winter goes over to the Hanzo here, and I mean, I like this in theory, but I don't know. I think I would rather see them keep the Widowmaker to put more pressure onto Pausane, though they do hit a very nice series of eliminations here. Sentence and Soprich both out of the equation, and just like that, I have eaten my words. Winter has helped Peach Posse stabilize on first place.
I think there isn't anything inherently wrong with playing a Hanzo into, this Widowmaker Tracer composition, I think the high burst damage forces your Zen and maybe your Baptiste to be, specifically your Baptiste, to be doing less damage because they have to keep up your Sigma. So it puts the playing field of, the Baptiste role between Peach Posse and Sakramochi a bit more on an even footing, especially now that both DPS, Peach Posse have ults, and Winter
Pausing
still
down.
manages to get pausing. I don't know where. I don't know. Oh, there they are.
Oh my god, Winter. Beautiful headshot there onto Patroclus, and I mean, that's just gonna stave off another fight for Sakura. They can't, they just can't get through this one right now. Peach Posse, they're fighting back in ways that, I mean, looking at the seeding, a lot of people would not have expected something like this.
Nope. But they have 4 ultimates to work with. Sakramochi still building towards the Transcendence, so Adrian can pop this right now and get massive value.
Doesn't pick anybody up with that one. Gustuck, the entire team falls down around her, and she just takes a mosey on over to the coast. Trying to fall off the cliff, but Shubu does not let that one happen. They finish the elimination beforehand, but I mean, it's still a crazy stagger. Peach Posse, they are in a great spot to potentially end this second map way faster than I think Sakura were hoping.
I think if you
Oh my god!
Oof, no, I was about to say the plan. If you're Peach Posse, right? You're hoping to force out Window from Softbridge. Now that Softbridge is down, can't really force out Window because they're back in she is back in spawn. So at this point, your goal now is to continue whittling these players down. Maybe aggressively use that ult of Void Bloom and maybe enter with a triple blink of this Tracer to do massive damage, or one way or another, you see Pausing flanking, hoping to get a Wuyang, does not get in the process.
I like the plan coming out from them there, but I mean, eventually Gustuck is able to find an opening pick, and Sentence finds Winter behind the pillar with very little HP. The Wuyang ultimate comes out here, but I mean, Sentence, interesting blink. I know you were trying to go for the Mega, but you were gonna die even if you got that one. Your team does get the point though, so not the end of the world. Pausane hitting a couple of very nice shots on this Cassidy. She will help her team get over the line here. But I mean, this gets more and more difficult now, obviously.
Ooh, Winter's not gonna get away from that because Sigma
no.
Primary just bounces off of everything, even though you wish it didn't. Now, Shubu has to kind of hide their way, regroup, get back to team, because I don't think there is a point to staggering yourself, especially when a Cassidy sees you. Back off. Unfortunate. But Peach Posse will at least have that window, and I think that's something you can definitely open up with. Hopefully get Winter to get another kill, or build up towards Dragons, gets a kill instead. So bada bing bada boom, Sakramochi is down in support and has to rely on a Zenyatta for healing.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to back out at that point. And already we're seeing a pattern broken that we saw in the first half, right? I mean, Peach Posse, they were able to push this cart all the way through second point without it basically being interrupted one time. But, I mean, just off the back of one pick from Winter Storm Arrows, they were able to make it all the way. They were able to stop Sakura dead in their tracks. And now Gustuck falling extremely low, but is eventually able to punish Adrian for her hubris. Both tanks now falling, but it's just a matter of this cart still moving after all this time. The stick from Shubu will be perfect. Waits for the roll, gets the stick, the damage reduction, excuse me, will not come into play there. And once again, Peach Posse winning a crucial fight.
Yep. Shubu just trying to get the sentence before anything else could be done. You see Sakramochi making last minute swaps, hoping it would turn things around, but if Peach Posse has anything in their favor, it is the ultimate advantage. Void Bloom gonna be very close to that captive Sun, and putting that on any of the squishier targets, maybe that Lucio, for example, would be spell trouble, but you need to force out a Suzu. Never mind, Softbridge is down.
Oh, well, Softbridge and Pausane. A couple players go down here. The Iati from Void Bloom. Been kind of quiet so far. I had genuinely not noticed that Void Bloom had swapped to this hero until it was way too late for Sakura to do anything about it. And just like that, another blink and you miss it. 2-0 lead for Peach Posse.
Peach Posse on their way to match point, on their way to wrecking your expectations and brackets with
Oh my.
these upsets. And honestly, Sakamochi have their backs against the wall considering they are that number one seed. They have something to prove. And if you think about it, they did, I think, face off or should have been able to face off at least Peach Posse at least once. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that one. But one way or another, this is looking like an upset. And for Sakura Mochi to even get their place in that winners finals, will have to attempt some form of a reverse sweep, which is a tall hill to climb when your only advantage is the first pick for the next map and the bans, and afterwards, nothing is in your favor.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a tale as old as time when it comes to reverse sweeping. Maybe in previous seasons of competitive Overwatch it wasn't as difficult because the maps were already predetermined, but now that we're in an era where map picks are a thing and hero bans are a thing, and the team that goes up 2-0 has the advantage if you win map 3 for the rest of the series, reverse sweeps become extremely difficult. So Sakura Mochi has a crazy difficult path in front of them. It's still very doable. I mean, again, I would like to reiterate, this is the number one seeded team coming out of the Swiss stage here in Rising this summer. They can win here. And it's very likely that we see a map 4 or a map 5 even. But again, 0-2 is such a crazy good start for Peach Posse that I think it's going to be very interesting to see where Sakura picks next in terms of a map, because I think that Junkertown was like one of their like deep reach pocket picks. That's not a map you see teams pick very often.
I think what hurt them more than anything is might have been not considering the fact that you will see Peach Posse ban a Wrecking Ball no matter what, right? You think of Junkertown, there really is two options. That's the Wrecking Ball or the Sigma. And if you have a tank player who does have that comfort in Wrecking Ball, you have to make sure that they're also significantly comfortable on Sigma, and that everyone else on the team is also just as comfortable playing with a Sigma instead of a Wrecking Ball. But we will be back after a short bio break as requested by the team, so don't go anywhere.
number 1 seeded team, Sakura Mochi, is currently down 0-2 to Peach Posse, the number 5 seeded team here in the Rising playoffs in Calling All Heroes Summer. Nobody is sure how this has happened, except for me. I know. It's because Peach Posse are really good and seeding doesn't mean anything. Welcome back, everyone. We've been gone for 5 minutes because players needed just to walk away, stretch, maybe use the bathroom or something like that. But next we're going to Flashpoint, specifically Atlas. Is that the newest map in the game? I think it is the newest map in the game, yes.
It is indeed the newest map in the game. It is also indeed the map that was added when Blizzard decided that it would be funny to allow map choice in quick play. So people have just been avoiding the said map whenever it pops up rather than actually forcing themselves to learn it like true Overwatch players would actually do in old Overwatch. Now, do I work for Blizzard? No, I do not. So at the end of the day, not my choice that's how the cookie crumbles. But Sakura Mochi did choose this because, at least from what I've heard on the grapevine, it is one of their most practiced Flashpoint maps because they want it to be the curveball map.
Yeah, but I mean, the thought process of it being a curveball map is fine, but I mean, like I was saying near the end of that last map, not near the end, but after it had finished, Junkertown also is kind of a curveball map. This is not a map that a lot of people particularly like or are super comfortable playing. So I kind of feel that was maybe the intention on Junkertown as well, but I mean, we saw what happened. It wasn't pretty. So I wouldn't... I'm definitely not counting Sakura Mochi out here, because again, top-seeded team, they're very good at the game, but we've already seen one curveball, and Peach Posse still hit a double off the back of it. Not quite a home run, but a double.
Yeah, but to the credit of Sakura Mochi, you might as well go to something that you've practiced day in, day out in preparation for, hey, what Flashpoint map are we comfortable in? Oh, let's throw in Atlas because chances are people are going to be a bit iffy about it, or at least on what to run, because people are definitely still experimenting on the said map. But already we're seeing some silly turn of events from Peach Posse because this is the first time tonight they are not banning a tank. They have opted to ban the Juno instead, and I think this is a pretty solid ban if I were to say so myself, given how Atlas is designed. And so I also think the same thing for Sakura Mochi with this Venture. I think Venture has become a solid mainstay for most Flashpoint maps, so a Venture ban on Flashpoint is always a pretty solid ban no matter what. And for a map design like Atlas, which has a bit more verticality in terms of the maps, I think this is a good selection of bans.
I agree. I'm gonna call it right now. Tracer Genji, Lucio Kiri. Give it to me. Give me the early Overwatch 2 like dive comps back. I would love to see it personally. Don't care what the tanks are. Give me Winston maybe. Give me Ball maybe. I'd love to see anything. Just give me Tracer Genji. That's all I want.
As someone who shifted from being a Bat Moira player from Overwatch 1 to somehow being a silly Kiriko OTP and having it as a crutch character, this all makes sense. And what do you know? At the end of the day, Brawl is still Brawl. And it's going to be a Junker Queen situation. We're going to see Rampages left, right, center, along with Suzu's here and there, along with Lucio Beats. Now, if there's one thing we should be thankful of, is this is not Stadium where Kiriko has 2 TPs and 2 Suzus.
Oh my goodness. Why is that a thing? Why? You've got me thinking about Stadium now while I'm looking at an actually good game mode. Anyway, we're now looking at Genji and Cassidy for Sakura, while we see Cassidy and Mei coming out from Peach Posse. I did get the support lines right though, so I will take my credit for that one and run away with it, thank you very much. But early poke battles are going to be so important here between Winter and Pauzane, and eventually Winter is going to come out on top, dealing a whole lot more damage, but Adrian is the one who ends up getting the first final blow here. Soparich will also fall, and that's just going to be a first point capture for Peach Posse. Easy.
Yep, there has to be something said with the slight difference in composition. You're going in with a Genji versus a Mei, so Peach Posse already on a slight level up in terms of the Brawl v Brawl scenario, because that Mei wall is just going to be a world of hurt if, Shubu gets a massive denial of a walkout. Whereas if you are playing a Genji like Sentence is, your goal is to be off angling, and there hasn't been much of that just recently.
Yeah, there hasn't been a whole lot of signs of life coming out from the side of Sakura so far, but I mean, in this fight, they do get 3 picks, while Peach, only finds 2. They are able to stall this out for a little while longer, thanks to the presence of that Mei, but a whole lot of players from Sakura are still over there, and they should be able to retake this point. At 61% though for Peach Posse, they have held on to this for quite a while at this point.
Okay, but Sentence will have that Genji Blade, so you are expecting that engagement as soon as they hear a Suzu pop out of Spacebar, because Void Bloom is nowhere near an ultimate yet, and it was already dropping very low. So I think if you're Peach Posse, you open up with potentially this high noon from Winter, and then go from there, force out other cooldowns from Sakuramochi.
You might be a genius, actually. They were going to open with that Deadeye, no matter what happened there, and they get a lot of positioning off of that. Sakura forced to back away all the way to the other side of the room. Still nobody daring to drop down onto the point. Everybody wants control of that high ground. Goose Duck falls so low in the midst of everything, but still stays alive. The beat comes out to keep everybody alive as well, but the rampage is finally what puts some bodies on the floor. Goose Duck is able to close out the fight, and Sakuramochi should just be able to get the first point here on Atlas off the back of it. Beautiful stuff from Goose Duck.
I think the beat from Void Bloom was to save themselves into that Genji Blade from Sentence, manages to get the trade, but at the cost of what? Everyone else on your team who needed the beat was unable to get it. So already point flipped over from Sakuramochi, setting the tone as needed. They're going to have their own high noon, which is going to be that space taker, given that Peach Posse has no ultimates yet, but forces out a Suzu. Oh.
Forces out a whole lot from the side of Peach Posse. Winter very nearly going down early in that fight, but Pauzane will be the Cassidy to fall first regardless. A few more players are still in danger though. That is an aggressive use of the rampage from Adrian, and it pays off. Winter finding 2, and they are going to be able to get back onto this point, taking first control here on this second point. I don't actually know the names of any of the points here.
Me neither, because I don't get to play this map a lot. I should find those out. But what we definitely do know is both Cassidys are going to have their respective high noons, so will not be surprised if there's a high noon scenario. It's noon somewhere in the world at all given cost, and here it just starts with Sakuramochi.
Sakuramochi, for sure, they're gonna pop it. They're gonna find Adrian very early, and Shubu will be the next to fall. Void Bloom manages to escape for a very brief moment, but Pauzane gets the reload, hits the shot, and I mean, this is a faster flip for Sakuramochi than it was last time, rather, as well. I mean, it was 61 last time, now it's only 48, so Sakura already off to a little bit of a better start.
Okay, Peach Posse will have that high noon and that Kiriko rush, so I will not be surprised if it is popped in this next engagement. Probably open up with the noon, hopefully to force out whatever rampage Goose Duck has, and use the Suzu just for that. I think you need to force out this rampage.
Oh, you need to do a whole lot more than that at this point. Shubu is going to be the first to fall, but Winter gets one after so long of waiting for somebody to walk into that one. Pauzane also falling, and I mean, Sakura once again losing out on a fight that they get the opening pick during. Now Peach, once again, building up.
Yep. it looks like we will have at least a beat online for this incoming Rampage and Genji Blade. If I'm Void Bloom, I would hope Spacebar still has that Suzu for the initial Rampage, especially that Gustak is trying to find an opening, but aggressively just uses the beat instead to find picks.
Aggressive beat, as you say, and no picks are found immediately, but a couple players fall pretty low from the side of Sakura. Peach Posse, they are able to get back to the point here, but Shubu goes down, so they don't have that Blizzard to work with, at least not for this fight. A couple more ultimates get popped for the side of Sakura just to try and help with this retake, and eventually it'll happen. Adrian finding Pauzane, but it won't be enough to hold on to it all. They will get the flip, and they don't have a ton of time to get back, but if they do, Peach Posse has ultimates to work with.
They have 3 to work with, Sakura Mochi only 2. So I think they have to aggressively push in, maybe with that Lucio speed. One way or another, there has to be a touch if they want to make an opening, especially when they're in an ult advantage of sorts.
And they don't even touch. They don't get there. Void Bloom goes down a little bit too early, and Sakura Mochi just goes up 2-0. And now we're headed over to this point. Again, I do not remember the names. I will study.
I think if there's something that Peach Posse needs to do is they might be overheating just a bit. I think there's this tension to clear out this point or to clear out this map already, and they're overthinking it to the point they're being unnecessary, like they're being a bit more aggressive than they should be and forcing out their cooldowns way earlier. But that's a massive cooldown to get to the queen of Sakura Mochi.
Oh my, that was a 5-person rampage. Literally hit every single member of Peach Posse with that one did Goose Duck. 4 of them will fall. It is just Adrian remaining, and for the first time in this map, Sakura Mochi is going to get the first capture, and that is an excellent starting momentum setter for them.
Yep. Peach Posse making some swaps, realizing they might need a bit more of some level of stability. Switch over to this Orisa and Genji setup. So they're a bit tankier on point, but at what cost is going to be a double rush incoming from both sides most likely. But already they're just posturing themselves. Maybe this High Noon with Winter comes in clutch again. Never mind, a shot to the head does instead.
Yep, bullet to the brain, and Pauzane is going to take that one away from Peach Posse. No way you're getting back into this one, even with the use of that Kitsune Rush. Blade comes out, though. Gonna force the beat from Void Bloom as well. Sentence is able to escape with their life, and I mean, this has just been phenomenal play from Sakura so far. Peach Posse, they just cannot manage to find a way in on this one. But the Kiri falls somewhat low. Deadeye is popped. Patrick was finding spacebar. But pausing with 2 on the Deadeye! Adrian and Winter both go down. And that spells the end of this map. It is over almost certainly. Especially with Shubu and Void Bloom going down. That's a 3-0. Sakura Mochi. That is exactly what you wanted to start a potential comeback here in this series.
Yep. The cars are turning on, trying to get their way through the road, hoping to start that beep beep reverse sweep is Sakura Mochi, and taking Atlas, their map choice, is definitely the place to start. But this is going to be a hill to climb for them. They will have to contend with a series of map pick selections from the side of Peach Posse, and even Peach Posse getting priority with the respective bans. So in that kind of situation, you just have to be prepared for anything. But if there's one thing that banning second at least provides you, is you have a sinking idea on what the enemy team might be running based on their respective map choice and map bans. So something is still within your control. It is adjusting to what the other team wants to play.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, naturally, in terms of ban phase at this point, you have to be a little bit more reactive, but that is still a situation where you can bring things back. And don't pay any attention to the score at the bottom of the screen right now, y'all. It is in fact 2-1. It's 2-1,
Wait,
not 3-0.
1-2.
1-2 for
It's 1-2.
Sakura for Peach Posse, excuse me. Not 3-0. We're not done yet. Don't leave. Don't leave. It's not over. Because, I mean, if you left right now, you'd be missing out on potentially the end of a very exciting winter semifinals here. I am thrilled that we're going to be seeing more. I mean, as cool as it would have been to see the number 5 seed, whoa, they 6-0'd their matches today and they're in winners finals. Ooh, that's less fun to cast than a good map 5 banger. You know what I mean? Like, it's always more fun to be here just a little bit longer into the evening.
Exactly. But hey, if there's one thing we can at least look forward to is seeing what the thought process of Peach Posse is going to be. Because now they have control on what map we are heading to, and if there's one thing that is at least out of the picture for choices, it's an escort map. So they have a choice. They can go to something that enables their brawl really well, something like a push, or you could force yourself into a hybrid map, but pick one that leans into the brawlier style of gameplay, and I will not be surprised if they pick King's Row in that process.
Oh boy, are we seeing another King's Row today?
Like another King's Row.
Another King's Row, a second King's Row. Yeah, it would not shock me. I mean, as you say, they've very obviously been like good at the brawl and throughout this entire thing. They're probably gonna want to play Junker Queen again. Who could have foreseen that one? There's a chance we actually see a Junker Queen band come out from Sakura Mochi at some point, but I mean, that's only if Peach Posse doesn't protect ban a different tank, which, I mean, as we've seen tonight, they are not shy on banning tanks. They have banned tanks in 5 out of the 6 maps they have played so far tonight, and it makes a lot of sense as to why they would do that. But,
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Let's also be clear. If they stick to banning tanks, if we're going to correlation, which is not necessarily causation, but I'm still gonna correlate things. Whenever they've banned tanks, they've won the map. So I think they should just continue banning tanks so they can win maps.
That's very
if they
true.
Want to win. If
That's very true. Looks like we're going to Esperanza. So like you were saying earlier, it does make a lot of sense to see a push map because brawl can be very prevalent here. However, last time we saw Esperanza, we saw a dive mirror, right? The Winston was being played on both sides. And Peach Posse, they did end up winning out on that map anyway, playing the Korea composition, as I called it, the double flex DPS with the Winston. So very possible that we see something similar to that happen again here. But, I mean, again, as you say, not to sound like a broken record, they like Queen. They like Brawl. They might just do that again.
I also want to put into perspective how this might actually be a solid pick for Peach Posse. You've talked about how they rolled out with that, Korean composition of a double flex DPS type of lineup. Let's take a look back at what heroes Sakura Mochi have already banned. They've banned the Genji, they've banned the Venture, so that's already back into play ASAP, and we've seen how much work Winter and Shubu can work when they both get to have those characters. Now they're free reign for them to play because they're unbannable at this point because Sakura Mochi had already banned them. So at that point, for Peach Posse, maybe you just stick it out and protect ban a attack that you want to play, remove one that may potentially come up, but not really sure if it will come out, but just to protect the fact that, hey, we get to choose which tanks we want to play. We're not going to be locked out of a tank. And then hopefully rely on everyone else on your team to do work with whatever is available. If Lucio gets banned in Esperanza, I think that's still going to be fine for Peach Posse because we've seen Void Bloom on this Wuyang, and Void Bloom has been doing crazy well also on Wuyang. So Peach Posse, I think, are at least semi-comfortable, obviously, in what they're going to be walking into. So this is all going to be a question now of what Sakura Mochi are going to do in response to this map selection, specifically ban-wise. So that is what we're going to have to wait and see.
I would not be surprised to see a Tracer ban coming out from Sakura Mochi as well. I mean, last time we saw Esperanza, it was the Tracer and Genji, specifically Tracer from Shubu, and that ended up working wonders for them. They won that map. It looked shaky at points, but they did end up winning that map by like 20 meters, something like that. So if Tracer does end up getting banned, I'm sure that they're still going to be comfortable rolling out on Genji and Venture, as you were saying earlier, because obviously Shubu's Venture has been a highlight for this team throughout both of these series that we've seen so far. But sounds like bans are ready. No more speculation. It's time to see
Dun, dun,
what happens here. It's Brig and it's Junker Queen.
Wait. But it's a Peach Posse banning Junker Queen.
What? What? What are they cooking?
Peach Posse is cooking. They want to cook with the Orisa is what it seems, at least. It's either with the Orisa, it is with a Ram, or in a really crazy
Winston.
alternative universe, we go back to the Winston. Yes, they did roll out with that Winston. So I am not surprised at the Brig ban, and I think that's more of if, I guess, Peach Posse, I think it's the expectation if Peach Posse want to run something like, you know, maybe a Juno Brig or a Atna Brig on this map. But we all know this is just going to fall back into monkey composition with a Kiri Lucio, unless Peach Posse are intending to throw a curveball at us. While Sakuramochi, if there's a Brig ban, I will not be surprised if Goose Duck is rolling out on the Wrecking Ball, which can be oppressive on this map given where the verticalities of the map are, right? There's a lot of slam potential in different areas of the map, so I don't think it's going to be as simple as an honest mirror between both of these teams.
I think it might be slightly more complicated than that for sure. We will have to see. Obviously, we're getting into it now, so things might take a little bit of time here to really play out in front of us. But I mean, at the end of the day, this has been a banger so far, and I expect it to be nothing less going forward. So I am very excited to see what happens. And if these are both real, it appears that both of these are in fact real compositions. One team choosing to roll out on the Brawl and the other on the Dive. Peach Posse won their last Esperanza doing this exact same composition, so I don't fault them for it in the slightest. But Sakuramochi also rolling out on what they believe to be the better option here, so very exciting stuff. Shubu, first to fall in this match here. Pausing on this Sojourn, that's the name of the hero. Able to find two right off the bat, so good stuff to this player. Able to find a couple more is the Orisa, and that's just a 5k. That's just a 5k to open for Sakura.
I think part of the challenge Peach Posse will have to contend with is the moment Adrian jumps in to dive on the squishier targets on Sakuramochi, Goose Duck is just going to turn and peel. Right? Goose Duck is not going to continue contesting whatever angle she is holding. She is going to turn around, peel for the team that's being dove on, and bada bing bada boom, melt this monkey. But already you see Peach Posse adjusting by actually going in with their monkey.
Yeah, and I mean, excellent dive just then, and gonna be able to find several picks off the back of that. There's a trade? Okay, a trade between the Tracer and the Orisa right there at the beginning, at the end of that fight rather. But the forward spawn is obtained by Sakuramochi, so they're going to be able to contest this one way earlier than I think Peach
but without
Posse was hoping.
without their respective Orisa, because
True.
I think Goose Duck had just respawned, so there should be at least some. Oh,
no,
never
Goose
mind.
Duck's here.
Goose Duck's there. Goose Duck she is there. She is on time, and Pausane is being harassed by Winter, who is getting killed by
Who's
Sen.
dead? Winter is gone completely and utterly. It is now springtime. But Adrian, the next to fall as well. And I mean, Peach Posse, you've gotten a fair amount of distance from this, but it's still not enough, right? It's not enough to be comfortable in this next fight. They can still get forward spawns off the back of this next one, but I think Shubu, you might have stayed a little bit too long, my friend. You are gone. Sentence is able to shut them down, and I don't know, this Genji has been super nice from Sentence so far. She is killing it.
Yep. Sentence is they are doing a lot of work for the team, and if I'm Peach Posse, I am definitely opening up maybe with this Kiriko rush, but maybe not right in front of an Orisa. Try to look for a squishier target, go on top of them and get some value, but Winter is isolated, and that's not looking great for them, especially when Sentence just cleans them up with the help of Patroclus.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. Sentence once again proving to be a proficient Genji player here, and you know, things are getting slightly worse for Peach Posse by the second. Even while the enemy tank is out of the equation, Pauzane just walks forward and finds more picks. So it does look like we're gonna have a brief pause here. So we'll get back into it in a minute here, but I mean, this is good stuff from Sakura so far. They're playing this Orisa Brawl comp extremely well, using the Sojourn extremely well in the midst of all of it, and I mean, it's good stuff. We're back into it.
I think if there's something I want Peach Posse to do is realize that they're going to be losing out on the speed game no matter. And so if you're playing with Suyang, that's what you're losing out on. So I think they might need to do some level of compositional swap if they want to play something that's a bit more stagnant. I think a Winston into something that's brawly isn't really helping as much, especially if you can get the respective picks in the process. But Sentence forces out stuff from Shubu.
Sentence is just so nice at this character. So nice at this character, finding their counterpart once again. And I mean, Sakura's, they're just still moving. They're just still moving. All right, I need you, Thor. I need the breakdown on what Peach Posse can do right now.
I think you need to open up with Genji Blade. I think you needed to make swaps way earlier, especially as the cart is about to hit this butch scratch. Void Bloom already out of the equation, so opening up with Blade might be things to start off and try to get a pick in the process, but just gets denied by Sentence, so it's not looking great. But the trades, maybe sort of.
Maybe a little bit here. Peach Posse able to find both DPS, and Spacebar goes down to the Disruptor shot. Adrian's gone. It's over. It's over. The map's over. We're going all the way to a fifth.
I really think, and I will be honest, the Peach Posse may have shot themselves in the foot by banning the Junker Queen as one, right?
Maybe a little.
Right?
Maybe a little.
But second of all, I think they stuck to that one-stun composition for way too long. You walk out, see what Sakuramochi is running. You are getting cornered into areas, tight areas where the Orisa does massive damage as a monkey. So it's harder to trade in that situation, especially when the Kiri has no line of sight for you. So I think they overstayed their welcome in a composition that let them win against Greater Than Column 3, right? Even though it had like some level of differences. So I think in that situation, they may have overthought their hand or overthought their opportunities. I think they should have stuck with what is a bit more tried and tested and make the necessary swaps pretty earlier on, especially in a map like Push, which can get very oppressive if you just let the enemy team continue rolling the bot and rolling the bot.
My question from the beginning of the map stands. What were they cooking? I am genuinely unsure as to why you would ban out the Junker Queen there, man. Like, I get that you wanted to force the dive, but if you wanted to do that, you should have banned Orisa. But the ban of Orisa was already gone, so you should have just leaned into the brawl competition in my eyes, right? I just don't see the point of trying to run that when, like, you've lost the first fight and you give up the first checkpoint that quickly. You need to make full sale swaps way sooner in the series than that.
Yeah, it was by the time they made swaps, it was too late, and by then, you know, the picks were just going along the way of Sakuramochi. So Peach Posse now is forced to play what is essentially hybrid, and you know what is slightly terrifying about hybrid?
What's that?
As a map 5?
What's that?
Is what happens when you draw.
Why did you make me think about that? Why did you make me think about the fact that we might be going to a map 6? Why did you? Why did you manifest this?
Map 6.
Why did you manifest this, Thor? Why would you
Okay,
do
okay,
this?
to be fair, I did manifest the draw on King's Row,
You
okay?
did. You
Between
did.
Peach Posse and Greater Than Colin 3. It did not happen.
No, it didn't.
So, if I continue saying that there is going to be a draw, it is definitely not going to happen. Surely.
Yeah, it's getting scary for the side of Peach Posse. They were up 2-0. What happened? Like, both of these maps have gone by blazingly fast. Atlas was a 3-0. And then Esperanza, they finished the map. I didn't catch how much time was left on the map, but they finished the map, which means it was less than 10 minutes. Which, not a normal occurrence in most flashpoints.
Is it a loss of steam from the break? I'm not too sure from that, right? Maybe that could be a contributing factor. Could also just be tired because can't really be tired because both teams technically went through 3-0 matches before this.
That's true.
It's still even footing for both teams. No one has a bye week whatsoever. So at this point, I think they might just be overheating and overthinking their hand, right? Like I think it's the whole we are like the 5th seed. We're actually keeping up and win first 2 maps against the 1st seed, right? Like we can maybe the pressure is getting onto them, but as I said this, we are back in King's Row. This is Brawl territory. Anything goes.
King's Row once again.
And let me tell you, I will not be surprised if one of the bans is May.
The bans are ready. We don't need to speculate. Let's take a look. Oh no! Junker Queen
wait.
Off the table.
These are not bad. Okay. Like, we've seen Peach Posse play non-Junker Queen tanks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they as comfortable in it?
No.
Your mileage may vary. Let's put it nicely. Your mileage may vary. But if there's one thing that they did remove, it's the Sojourn. And I think removing Sojourn is such a solid pick because if there's one thing that's more annoying to me as a support player than anything else, it is those it's the E skill. It's the thing that causes everyone to just slow down just a bit and get some damage. The disruptor shot disrupts too much.
Yeah.
and in a map like King's Row, where there's a lot of corners to turn around, right? There's so many spots where like a disruptor shot can do so much impact or damage that if you remove the Sojourn, the corners feel less oppressive, and now you are going to see at least a Freya v Freya scenario, so I don't know what's even worse. Actually, no, I still think Disruptor Shot's more annoying, never mind. Because
I think is a very annoying ability.
I think Disruptor Shot is more annoying than the lightning bolts from, I think, Take Aim. Only for the sole reason that, like, even though the Take Aim one really doesn't have a cooldown of sorts, for it to actually do a massive damage on you, it just has to be, like, a direct hit on you. The splash damage from it isn't as bad, like, if it lands near you. Whereas a Disruptor Shot, no matter what, is painful. I hate it, I cry, it terrifies my memories.
Winter once again going for an early grapple shot on this Widowmaker, but will be swapping over to the Cassidy here. Makes a lot of sense. But, oh, okay, another DPS swap as well. Shubu not going to be on the Freya, rather the Mei, leaning heavily into this Brawl composition. I actually really like this DPS line coming out from Peach Posse. They are going to be attacking here, so it's going to be a matter of just first picks here, and I mean, this Peach Posse composition is built for it, right? If you can wall anybody off, especially, like, even that Orisa with her Fortify will not be able to stand for very long on her own. That team is going to be able to burn through the wall very quickly. Paw Zane is already 59% of the way to the polo shot, by the way. This character, Freya, is so good at charging up that ultimate quickly.
Yep. But already taking the high ground is this whole team of Peach Posse, so there's a limited number of space for everyone else on Sakamochi to really play. They're forced to fight it out on this point, the damage coming from high up above and different angles, but already taking the spacebar out might spell some trouble for Peach Posse.
One for one trade right now, but it gets worse for Peach Posse as they lose out on the Orisa. Potentially, I mean, this I don't want to call anything way too early in the map because it's been a minute and 30, but potentially seeing signs of, I mean, being less comfortable on this hero than they might have been on the Queen.
I think part of it is how the team is playing. It seems like while Winter and Voidbloom did take this high ground, they weren't able to capitalize it as much because the Freya just knows where they are and could just hit shots in the general choke area, so it's not as safe to actually play in those smaller windows compared to out in the open sometimes. But there is a Noon, they're going to speed it in, hoping to get some value. Spear, spin, nothing else, gets one.
Very nice speed there coming out from Voidbloom just to ensure that Winter can maintain line of sight and find that pick, and eventually that will be enough to get them onto the point and making progress. Not quite enough to make it definitive yet, but that should just seal the deal. Peach Posse, they will get first point. It took a little while and it was a little bit sketchy, but they will get there.
What's slightly sketchy is the amount of ultimates Sakamochi used in order to open that up. 3
Yep.
in order to get things done. Will only have a blade in this next engagement, while Peach Posse is going to have 3 ultimates. At that point, you might as well actually semi-survive. Maybe popping a Terra Surge on a blade in Genji, right? Or even just a Blizzard, right? Save maybe the Lucia ultimate for something tempo down the line. There's so many ways you could do it, but one thing's for certain, you need one of them to deny this Genji blade that's about to incoming from Sentence.
And they're looking for the blade, right? I mean, there's a couple of targets on this team that are extremely important to be able to take out with the blade quickly. If you can potentially get rid of Voidbloom or force out the beat, then there's a good chance that this is a very won fight. And the beat is going to be expended very quickly thereafter, as is the Terra Surge. Sentence tries to climb the wall in front of 2 players from Peach Posse and is punished for it. Shubu as well will get the Blizzard down, freezing up multiple players, and is that point? That might be point for Peach Posse.
Well, it will be point unless maybe Patroclus attempts to touch, but I think a massive wall from Shubi here is just going to deny any touch, maybe from the Genji. You could see that Sentence is trying, but ooh, the wall might actually help them.
The wall is up, and it does help the approach for Peach Posse. For Sakura, excuse me, just a little bit here. Patroclus using that beat as well. That's exactly what they needed to be able to control that retake, control all of the space necessary, and they knew Peach Posse didn't have an ultimate to work with there. Spacebar does get the Kitsune Rush, but it's a little bit too late, and they're just going to be able to get the staggers of a lifetime onto Adrian. No more, though.
Yep, 2 minutes left on the clock. If I am Peach Posse, oh my gosh. Okay, Peach Posse, stop enabling this, please. Regroup. Safe. Please. 2 minutes. You've dwindled 15 seconds more from this set of kills. You did force out the rush from Sopridge though, which is massive. So now you have that to re-engage onto the point. At least turn this to like a potentially 1-5 if you cleanly do it at the stroke. But you have to force yourself through this, maybe with the speed of Voidbloom and then following it up with a rush. But you have to be worried of that Terra Surge and Bola shots that are online for Sakamochi.
Filler gets broken in the wall, and Gustav is not too bothered by it at the end of the day, but Pausane able to put in so much damage. Voidbloom is the first to fall, and the Bola will go out. A whole lot of chunk damage onto every single member of Peach Posse, and Winter falls low, but again, still not able to find the final blow. This fight is not definitively going one way or another. Adrian uses a Terra Surge, a very pivotal ultimate, and doesn't really find a whole lot of damage, but Pausane eventually finds the first pick anyway. Adrian shortly falls thereafter, and the pieces are starting to come apart for the Posse. They've lost all 5. It's a team kill. 30 seconds left, and you've only got DPS ultimates to work with.
Well, you're also gonna be getting Blade in the the beat in the process. But if you are Peach Posse, it's not looking great at this point. You have to contend with double supports, ultimates from Sakura, and the Genji Blade. You have to commit potentially that beat in order to deal with the Blade. But Void Bloom has to build towards it first, so you might need to open up first with maybe a Blizz or maybe a High Noon, and that's something you need to start with.
Blade comes out. Winter is the first to fall in the fight. That is one of the only ultimates you had. The Blizzard is also expended and nobody is frozen off the back of it. Patroclus goes down, but it may not be enough for Peach Posse to be able to move this cart any further on King's Row. Street phase is all they will see as Gusta closes out the round. And 112.04 is all Sakura need on the second point of King's Row to complete the reverse sweep.
Yep. Peach Posse stopped just shy of finishing second point. I think Shubu might be rethinking that wall to deny a Genji touch, because I think the wall ended up helping Sentence recontest the point just as easily. So I think at that situation, when you're down your Lucio, I think Void Bloom died before they could fully cap second point. At that point, you could probably try to brawl it out at like the first corner of third point, right? Maybe hope that have like two on point and have the other two just push up, or at least one of them be in the middle just to hop between the two sides to slow down the push. Because I think a Genji on its own would be something two of your teammates can handle. But if the whole team is already on point and it's four of you, it really spells disaster. Now Peach Posse making swaps or these changes in how they want to run this, and I think the Baptiste isn't bad of a pick, especially if you're expecting massive damage coming from the enemy team, especially if you have a Mercy from the side of Sakura Mochi. But I think this is really just to damage boost a Widow to hopefully get a shot. Looking for kills, gets none. Winter gets no damage and gets out with their life intact.
Pauzane is going to be off of the Widowmaker now, back over to the Freya. Fairly standard, to be expected stuff coming out so far from the side of Sakura. But I mean, it is as you say, these Freyas are going to be so important. The damage that they've been able to put out so far has been pretty pivotal throughout the entirety of this map, and so far, I mean, the DPS are prowling right now, and Pauzane finding Winter right off the bat. That could spell the beginning of the end for Peach Posse's winners bracket run. Goose Duck able to find Void Bloom as well, and Adrian not able to escape the focused damage coming out from Sakura. This is a fast point A take for the side of Sakura Mochi. Peach Posse can do nothing but watch as that progress ticks all the way up to 100%.
5 minutes and 10 is such a painful time bank to have to stall, right? You have to deny this whole second point with it, and already trying to take the high ground is Sentence. But part of the challenge from all of this is maybe the split or where people were fighting were kind of not working in the favor of Peach Posse. I think when Winter had fallen, it was just the Baptiste on that high ground just left. By then, I think Spacebar needed to rotate to somewhere else with team. But Sakura Mochi will have that 3 ultimates online. Peach Posse still with also going to be their 3, opening up with Window first.
Big window just to allow them to take a little bit more space here. Also denies Pauzane the ability to use the bola shot early. Does eventually use it anyway. Out goes the Kyrie ult as well, and Winter falls. Oh, it's all going to pieces at the very end. They looked so good early on, but they're falling apart. They should be able to stagger Shubu here as well. There's no way this Mei is going to be able to escape.
I need Rising players, okay, at least for some of them, to just, as much as we know we would like to how do I say this? Regroup with the team when it's lost. I think fighting on point at the end of the day just dwindles down time, right? Dwindles
It
out more
does.
resources. So I think just backing off when it's like you have no chance of escape is even a worse situation. But Terrors are just gonna be online for Adrian, so this team just has to hyper enable it.
Void Bloom's dead. They were so close to the beat, but they couldn't charge it up in time. Patroclus also goes down, so they do have a way back into this one. Adrian, off the back of that Terra Surge, gives a little spark of hope, but Goose also finds spacebar, and everyone else goes down. The reverse sweep is complete. The number 1 seeded Sakura Mochi will take what was promised them, which is, in fact, a slot in winners finals.
Yep. Great job from Sakramochi for climbing that tall hill and turning our tall mountain and turning things around in their favor, really capitalizing on, the fact that there are characters um that Peach Posse have already banned and utilizing that in their favor, right? I think if I were Peach Posse, I think at that moment you wish that you did not ban that Orisa very early on in the stages, right? Really saving it for towards the end and maybe having something in your back pocket on how to deal with maybe Orisas in other ways. It could be something positioning wise, it could be something composition wise. Either way, for both of these teams, this has been a full day for them. Yes, they did 3-0 their first set of matches, but they really had to grind it out in this semifinals at the end of the day.
Oh yeah. Ask any of these players right now and they'll tell you they are exhausted. I can almost guarantee it. After 8 consecutive maps of Overwatch within the last less than 4 hours, really, it's anybody would be for sure. So I do not know if we have an interview for today's broadcast. If we do, then that's great, but if not, then I mean, I suppose we can talk about the series for just a little bit longer before we head on out of here. I think that one of the most important moments for me personally was the Atlas sweep coming out from Sakura Mochi, because I mean, obviously winning on your map pick, big. Winning 3-0, that is a momentum like starter essentially. You needed that momentum back if you wanted to be able to bring it all the way back to a 3-2 finish.
I think also the Atlas 3-0 win really set the tempo for them because it seemed like afterwards they were just full steam ahead. They finally locked it in and turned things around in their favor. So maybe that break actually was super helpful for them. But if there is a updated bracket available, we could take a look at that because the next set of matches will be happening at least next week. I think
We'll have
next
a bracket
week is
in a
going
moment,
to be
so.
lowers and not grands, winners. But
Okay, bracket is ready now. Yay.
Here is the brackets. So now we know who Sakramochi have to play up against next week, and
it's Dreamlight.
And I am not surprised. That is your number 1 seed and your number 2 seed.
Yep. Not shocking at all.
Not shocking at all. Also ongoing still apparently is PXP Rising versus Lotus Rising, and it's 1-1 right now. So that looks like it's going to be a close match. So Greater Than Call 3 though did win their match against Monarch MX, so they still have quite a ways to continue going through this before they can maybe get themselves back into grand finals. Who knows? But as expected, wait, why are there 2 grand finals? Is one of them winners finals?
Yeah, it should be. It should say winners finals. It should say winners finals.
I'm sure one of them's winners finals. It's fine, guys. One of them's winners finals. But at the end of the day, are we surprised that it is the number 1 seed versus number 2 seed? Not really, because Dreamlight's only other loss happens to be against Sakura Mochi from the regular season. So they have a score to settle. And hopefully they've learned this time around how to play around maybe what Sakura Mochi is running.
Hey, they're more than capable of doing it. I mean, I assume last time they played it was on a previous season patch as well. So it's been a lot of things have changed in the time since they last played, and they've had plenty of time to prepare for another series against them, which they may have to do 3 times if they end up making it back to grand finals. If both teams end up making it back to grand finals, I mean. So end of the day, it's been a banger day, but I think that might be it for the two of us on the broadcast here. So, thank y'all so much for watching Rising today, supporting the Calling All Heroes scene. Thank y'all for having me on. I've never done commentary for Calling All Heroes before. It was a lot of fun. I'm happy to be able to fill in as a play-by-play commentator whenever I am, wherever I can help broadcast out. So it's good to
Yeah.
be here. Thanks for having me on, all that jazz. Do you
Yep.
have any words for the people, Thor?
Honestly, it's great to have you doing play-by-play, Gadster. It was a great experience, and I hope everyone else in the audience had a really great time watching these really close matches between the two teams. But as we said, the next set of playoff matches are happening on Wednesday next week at 8 p.m. EST. So that's the next time you should be tuning in to the Risingcord Twitch. But until then, that is it for me, Thoriumea, your color caster, and Gedster, your play-by-play caster. Behind us are the production staff of Echo and I think Casey,
Yep.
Honeycrisp, and if they had gotten more observers, one of them. But until then, see you next time.